Chapter 2757. The Golden Dragon descended from the sky. In space, all the injured had already returned to the parent star. Logistics personnel. The moment Yi Zichen landed, Meng Luo and company all surrounded him. God! Then, Meng Luo threw herself in front of Xia Kiki and hugged her neck, staring at her with wide eyes. What are you doing? Xia Kiki frowned and pushed Meng Luo away. Kiki, you're a golden dragon. Meng Luo's eyes were filled with surprise. Dragons are a very rare race. I didn't expect you to be one. How about we form an alliance? It just so happens that our spirit rabbit race has the protection of a powerful race. Meng Luo, don't mess around. Hua Jianro, who knew the situation of the Meng Luo family, patted her little head. Your spirit rabbit lineage needs protection. Are those dozens of supremacies and overlords just for show? So what? Our spirit rabbit race is very weak. Meng Luo's eyes widened. You put a rabbit and a dragon together? Anyone would think that the dragon is stronger. Don't talk anymore. Hua Jianro covered Meng Luo's mouth and smiled at Xia Kiki. Kiki, don't take it to heart. Meng Luo injured her head when she was young, so sometimes she speaks in a weird way. However, there's something I need to remind you of. If possible, try not to transform into your true form. That's right. Kiki, I suggest that you don't use your original form before you reach the titled rank. Bai Yu also nodded. What happened? Xia Kiki was confused. Because the dragon race has a special status in the human race universe. At this moment, a low voice came from afar. When everyone heard this, they looked over and saw Tianhai slowly walking over. Venerable One. Meng Luo and the others greeted Tianhai. Tianhai grinned when he heard them. You guys are all friends from the second universe. There's no need for this. Furthermore, with the backgrounds of your clans, it's best if you don't ask me about it. I can't afford it. Venerable One, you're being too serious. Bai Yu slightly nodded. Tianhai, have you recovered? Yi Zichen smiled in relief when he saw Tianhai appear. I've recovered. Tianhai shrugged. Your time elemental sprite is very worried about your situation. It sped up the time around me by 300,000 times, and the cosmic energy in outer space has been somewhat exhausted. Wei. Yi Zichen touched his chest and muttered. In order to withstand the self-destruction of the armored emperor, the 5 elements elemental fairies and the time elemental fairies were heavily injured and fell into a deep slumber. Yi Zichen was worried, but he didn't know what to do. All he could do was let them rest in peace. It's good that you can recover. Now that you've recovered, I won't have anything to worry about. Yi Zichen asked. Yi Zi, you just sent me a message not to let me out? What's the situation outside? Now that you've told me, I don't even dare to use cosmic energy anymore. Tianhai said, what was that energy shock just now? That was at least a monarch-level attack. Also, many of my subordinates self-destructed. The Emperor of the Armored Nation has self-destructed. Yi Zichen sighed. The others self-destructed. That was my decision. I've chosen a group of death warriors. Their goal is to self-destruct. Iron armor, King? Tianhai stared blankly for a moment, then laughed. He broke through and even blew himself up. That's fine too. This is a form of release for him. You don't blame me. Yi Zichen was stunned. Choosing death soldiers was my idea. Why would I blame you? Tianhai let out a long sigh. If I want to blame someone, then I should blame myself for being useless. If I could protect my universe nation, then they wouldn't have fallen to such a state. It's just a pity for iron armor. After he breaks through to the monarch level, his strength might not be any weaker than mine. Yeah. Yi Zichen sighed. Alright, stop reminiscing about that. The war isn't over yet, Tianhai smiled. Oh yeah, Yi Zi, I nearly forgot because of your interruption. I'm Big Brother Zichen's second wife. Xia Kiki said. Yi Zi is a passionate person as well, Tianhai suddenly laughed. I have over 100 concubines in total. How many do you have, Yeezy? Let's change the topic. Their team was currently in an ambiguous relationship. Tianhai was truly touching on their sore spot. Tianhai was stunned for a moment, then understood. Alright, then I won't say any more. I'll continue with what I was saying. It's best if your wife's identity as a dragon is not revealed in the human universe. Why? Yi Zichen frowned. The dragon race's situation in the human universe is rather special. Tianhai pondered for a moment, then glanced at Niumang. Niumang, tell everyone else to leave. Understood. The surrounding people all left, and Tianhai set up another barrier around them. Yi Zi, you know the relationship between the human race and the god race, right? Naturally, Yi Zichen nodded. It was only because he knew the relationship between the human race and the god race that he intentionally didn't reveal his divine blood. He also reminded Suiyun, who was adventuring in the universe. The relationship between the dragon race and the human race is pretty much like that, Tianhai said. That's right. How could that be? Yi Zichen frowned. If I remember correctly, the dragon race is one of the 5 god races. They are on the same level as the fire god race and the phoenix race. If the phoenix race can live among the human race, why can't the dragon race? Have you seen the phoenix race before? Aside from the spirit phoenix supremacy? Tianhai said. No. Then that's right. The phoenix race's situation is pretty much the same as the dragon race. The main reason they haven't been exterminated is because there are 2 fire elemental fairy kings and the spirit phoenix supremacy, Tianhai replied. You know that the spirit phoenix supremacy has 2 main bodies, right? One is in charge of spatial destruction, while the other is in charge of undying and fire. I know. That's why the human race doesn't dare to make a move against them, Tianhai frowned. Tianhai furrowed his brows. As for the fire god phoenix tribe, they also have to fulfill the condition that they are not allowed to leave the area they are guarding. The same goes for the dragon race, black tortoise race and Qilin race. So that's how it is. Yi Zichen frowned. But a lot of people saw it just now. Don't worry about my people, Tianhai said seriously. My people definitely won't reveal your wife's identity. I will remind them of that. They are all my old subordinates, so they are definitely trustworthy. However, remember, you are not allowed to revert to your true forms, at least not in front of the kings. Kiki, do you understand? Yi Zichen asked. Yes. Xia Kiki nodded seriously. But our Milky Way galaxy. Yeah, Tianhai, you know about my Milky Way galaxy, right? There are 5 guardian god races in my Milky Way galaxy. What's more, many foreign races have already settled in the Milky Way galaxy. Yi Zichen said. Lock them down, Tianhai said without a second thought. If you don't want them to be exterminated, and if you don't want your Milky Way galaxy to be destroyed like mine, lock these races down and don't let anyone enter. They can leave the planet if they want, but they have to be king-ranked. Chapter 2758. King-ranked. Even the titled rank that Bai Yu mentioned was a very demanding requirement. Yet Tianhai said he had to be at least king-rank. King-rank. That was already an outstanding talent in the universe. Countless humans spent their entire lives trying to reach that level, yet were unable to do so. Yet here, Tianhai, this was only the basic requirement for the dragon race to move about freely. Without reaching that level of strength, they couldn't leave. Bailey, tell Yin Shang to lock down the main body's 3 life planet. Tell him what Tianhai said. Although the requirements were harsh, Yi Zichen was still decisive. He immediately told Bailey to pass down the orders. He trusted Tianhai's judgment. As for king-ranked, that could wait. In truth, Yi Zichen knew that the king-rank Tianhai spoke of was just a threshold. The prerequisite was that the clan didn't have any experts protecting them. If they were like the 5 god clans, they would have enough experts to intimidate the entire region. At the very least, they wouldn't be attacked. There's one more important thing. There will be bets during the red and blue trials. Yi Zichen frowned. Yi Zichen knitted his eyebrows. I wonder if there will be a live broadcast. It's fine. In the face of Yi Zichen's suspicions, Tianhai was much more at ease. You're a Milky Way lord. This Miss Golden Dragon is your wife. Out of respect for you, they won't dare do anything to her. That is, in the future, don't casually transform. At least not before entering the Ancestral Dragon Clan. Entering the Ancestral Dragon Clan will be fine? Yi Zichen frowned. You could say that. Tianhai nodded with a smile. Tianhai smiled and nodded. The Ancestral Dragon Clan is overseen by the Dragon Clan's elders. If the younger generation of the Dragon Clan goes there, they will naturally be protected. So that's how it is. When he heard Tianhai's explanation, Yi Zichen was even more curious about the Ancestral Dragon Clan. The trial began. While the Ancestral Dragon Clan was closed, anyone who broke through to the supreme level had to go to the Ancestral Dragon Clan to receive free instruction. There were even dragon elders within the clan. Yi Zichen guessed. The other divine beast clans probably had members as well. In other words, the Ancestral Dragon Clan had the power to summon the entire human race, including the beasts that were friendly with humans. There was also the trial. He could tamper with the internal structure of human planets at will and create game-like digital war equipment inside, which could also be a deterrent to the humankind. Then, based on this deduction, if the Ancestral Dragon Clan built these camps internally, they all had the strength to unite the human race. There was also the black hole within the dark universe. Ancestral Dragon Clan. It was too mysterious. All of this made Yi Zichen suspect that there was a higher plane of existence beyond the cosmos. These people were actually a kind of accessory of the high-level world. This ancestral dragon race is really weird. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes, then shrugged. Never mind, I can't be bothered with that. Have all the divisions arrived at their assigned positions? Everything is ready. Tianhai nodded lightly. When I arrived, I saw that there were already people standing around the energy cannons. The combat spaceships and manned spaceships were also in position. Yezi, are you going to fight? What am I supposed to do? You should just stay on the twin star. Yi Zichen smiled. Tianhai was stunned, then hurriedly said, I've already recovered about 60% of my strength. Even an ordinary venerable would not be a match for me. You're my trump card. I can't expose you. When he saw Tianhai's anxious expression, Yi Zichen shrugged with a smile. Right now, the invaders don't know that you've recovered. Their leader this time is a country lord. If you show up now, the country lords will indeed die in battle, but the enemy will definitely send out their full strength. Right now, we don't have the strength to fight them. Then you. Wear them down, Yi Zichen grinned. I won't annihilate them. I'll just keep them hanging and buy as much time as possible to accumulate enough points. During this time, I'll have to keep provoking that world domination king. You're still going? Hearing that, Bai Yu and the others felt their hearts skip a beat. I have no choice but to go. If I don't provoke him, he might contact their headquarters and send more people to assist us. A few is fine, but if too many come, how are we supposed to hold them off? Wasn't that our original plan? Buy time. Then when do you think they'll come? Tianhai frowned. I think very soon, Yi Zichen smiled and shrugged. Yi Zichen chuckled, then shrugged. That world hegemon country's ruler is definitely brainwashing his subordinates right now. He's telling them to chase after us and destroy our crystals. How can you be so sure? Hua Jian asked. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't launch an all-out attack. The self-detonation of the Iron Armor Nation destroyed all of their combat equipment, and their casualties were very heavy. The safest thing to do right now is to send more people, then launch an all-out attack. That's why I said it's you. Yi Zichen patted her head. Yi Zichen caressed her head. The king of world domination won't. Why? Even Tianhai couldn't help but ask. Because he's a smart person, Yi Zichen smiled. Smart people all have a common problem, and that is, they think they're infallible. He has absolute confidence in his brain, and believes that he can see through all the schemes of the world. Everything I've done is to make him, a confident person, become conceited. To make him believe that everything he thinks is correct. If I'm not wrong. Right now, he definitely thinks that the sacred region is a lamp without oil. Self-destruction. That's the best proof. We no longer have anything to fight against him. Even if the Iron Armor King's self-destruction affects him more, he's got more resources, so he'll have more bargaining chips than us. He'll definitely win this battle. That's definitely what he thinks. Yi Zichen's expression was filled with confidence. Actually, he also had this problem, which was that he believed in all of his decisions. They didn't investigate the internal situation of the twin star? Tianhai frowned. Look up, Yi Zichen pointed up. Yi Zichen grinned and pointed into the sky. I left 3 million people behind from the start to interfere with their investigations. They won't be able to find out what's going on inside. If that's the case, won't he suspect something? Tianhai asked. He will. But he's a smart person, Yi Zichen laughed. Yi Zichen grinned. This confidence will make him deny his suspicions. What's more, I'm here too. He wants to kill me so badly right now, how could he possibly restrain himself? Chapter 2759. If it wasn't for the fact that Yi Zichen was truly afraid of the World Domination King going crazy. Yi Zichen really wanted to stand in front of him, humiliate him, and trample all over his character. Thus, he led his subordinates and charged towards Zixing Yizi. Should we? Before Tianhai could finish, Niu Meng hurried over. They had already discussed the matter of the dragons. Tianhai also dispersed the barrier around them and faced Meng Niu. Master. Lord. Niu Meng greeted the two. Tianhai nodded. What is it? Someone's coming, Niu Meng said solemnly. Niu Meng's expression was solemn as he said, this time, the other party should have come out in full force. The people who came all flew here, the numbers are very exaggerated. According to our investigation, there are more than 10 million of them. They're here? Yi Zichen's eyes brightened. Then, he looked towards Tianhai and the others with a smile. How is it? Am I right? Lord, you're truly divine. Winnie's gaze was filled with admiration. Winnie had a look of worship on her face. It seems that the World Domination Kingdom has completely fallen into the rhythm of a lord. This time, victory is within our grasp. Don't be so sure. Yet, Yi Zichen was humble. Victory is in our grasp. Let's just say that we have a 99% chance of winning. As soon as he finished speaking, he narrowed his eyes and twisted his neck, not caring about the expressions of the others. Follow me into space. The vast army of interstellar warriors, numbering 11 million, all moved out. The World Domination King declared that they would definitely win this battle. He stood at the very front of the army, with several other king-level experts behind him. Unbeknownst to them, at the same time, in the human race's outer space, countless participants were also paying close attention to this round's trial. The ancestral dragon clan had been broadcasting the first clash between Yi Zichen and the World Domination King. It seems like the blue side is finished. That was pretty much what all the viewers were thinking. Based on their calculations, the World Domination King's chances of winning against the blue side were over 70%. And that was taking into account many unexpected situations, such as the Iron Armor King's self-destruction. To be honest, the self-destruction of the Iron Armor ruler's divine body had shocked everyone watching the live broadcast. The Iron Armor King. He was too famous in the human race universe. When he appeared, the other trial teams were in an uproar. For no other reason than the reputation of the Iron Armor King, they were willing to give the blue side a 20% chance of winning. After that, the Iron Armor King battled against the 8 conferred kings. All of their divine bodies perished. In the middle of the battle, he had even broken through to the monarch rank. At this moment, almost everyone believed that the blue side was going to win, because the Iron Armor King had broken through to become a monarch. The ruler of the world domination country should not be his match. However, no one would have thought that the Iron Armor Nation King would self-destruct. After he self-destructed, more and more people on the blue side self-destructed. The trial takers also noticed that these self-destructing people were not weak. They belonged to the upper echelons of the blue side. The large-scale self-destruction did indeed increase the chances of victory for the blue team. But this was a bad move. Most of the trial challengers believed that the blue team's chances of winning would be slightly higher if they waited until the Armored Nation King recovered from his injuries and the Sanctuary Venerables regained some of their strength. Of course, this possibility was very low. 9-1. But 10% was already a miracle. One had to know that at the beginning, they all felt that the blue team's chances of winning were 0. Unfortunately, the Iron Armor King self-destructed. A hero of a generation had fallen. The trial takers watching the live broadcast all mourned for him in their hearts. Those who bet on the red team's victory were already jumping for joy. They had bet on the right person. Young master, it seems that our score is going to be the last this time. In the interstellar battleship, a girl with a ponytail sighed sadly. The blue team is going to be destroyed. Just now I have made tens of thousands of deductions through the optical computer. The blue team's highest chance of winning is 23%. Momo, I have told you many times, don't call me young master. The young man in the cabin spread his hands. Then what should I call you? Brother Chen, brother and Chen, aren't these all fine? The young man looked helpless and looked at the other young men and women in the cabin. And you guys, don't call me third prince or young master. Just call me by my name. We are all here to participate in the trial. There is no distinction between us. If Yi Zichen was here, he would definitely feel like he had met an old friend in a foreign land. 10 people. There were also 10 people in the young man's cabin. What's more, their numbers were the same as Yi Zichen's. There were 2 Duke-level guards, while the others were all trial takers. In other words, his difficulty level was 256 times. None of this is important, right? The important thing is that we are going to lose. The girl called Momo shrugged. The girl called Silence spread her hands. We've obtained 25,600 points in the first round. 15,600 points were bet on the blue team winning and 10,000 on the red team winning. In the middle, we lost 256 times 5,600, which is about 1.44 million points. We lost that much? Chen was momentarily stunned, then sighed in pity. What a pity. Is the result already out? No, did you hear what I said just now? Momo sighed. What I said is that we are going to lose. The result isn't out yet, but it is already very obvious. Doesn't that mean it isn't over yet? Chen shrugged. Chen, looking at the listless and sleepy youth in front of her, Silent Disaster shouted angrily, "Can't you listen to me properly?" "I'm listening." Chen covered his ears and laughed. "Momo, can you call me again? Are you sick?" The girl with the ponytail had a look of disdain on her face as she crossed her arms. "Why did Lord Overlord and Madam let me follow a trash like you out? Watch your words." The 2 dukes in the cabin frowned. "This is His Highness the Third Prince. How dare you say that the prince is?" "Don't mind her, let her speak." Chen had a silly smile on his face as he said, "I like to hear Momo talk about me. From today onwards, I, Chen, am Little Trash. From now on, you can call me Little Trash. I really like this nickname. It sounds much better than those third princes and young masters." "Is there something wrong with your brain?" Silently widening his eyes, he held his head in his hands. "Oh my God, I should have returned to the Milky Way. Why did I stay to participate in the trial with you? The Milky Way Overlord has already appeared. Momo, do you want to return to the Milky Way?" After this ends, I will bring you over. Chunan laughed. There's no need. I am the rightful ruler of the Milky Way. I can return whenever I want. Silent Disaster had a look of disdain. Seriously, you are really annoying. What was I talking about just now? You made me forget. You said that our points are going to be the last. Yes, we are going to lose. If we lose, so be it. I saw that you are from the Milky Way, that's why I bet on the blue side. Chunan laughed. Momo, do I treat you well? Please scram. Thank you. Silent Disaster pushed Chunan away. Crossing his arms, he walked to the edge of the cabin and sighed. I, Gu Momo, am in such a difficult situation. Chapter 2760. It could be seen that even though Chunan was a prince, he had the highest status in their group. There was one important point. He was a bootlicker. No matter what Gu Momo said about him, he wouldn't be angry at all, saying that he was a waste. He could happily say that it was his own nickname and act especially happy about it, even if it was a bet. It was also because Gu Momo was the orthodox of the Milky Way that he would bet more points on the blue side. In other words, he actually preferred the red side. In order to pursue love, he chose to give up this time's trial. You are really sick. Gu Momo shook his head with a look of disgust. Chunan, you are a prince after all. You are the orthodox royal family, don't you care about your face? What's wrong with me? Chunan was puzzled. Looking at Chunan's puzzled expression, Gu Momo could only sigh lightly, not knowing what to say. Anyway, I am just informing you that your points are going to be counted down. It can't be. Chunan was surprised. Isn't the result not yet? Why do you say that I will lose? Look at the data. Do you want the Milky Way to lose? I am the orthodox of the Milky Way, I naturally don't want the Milky Way to lose. Gu Momo frowned, and then helplessly spread his hands. But my thoughts are also important, what can I do? Then they won't lose. Inexplicably, Chunan squinted his eyes and laughed. You think they won't lose just because you say so? Where did you get this confidence from, really? Gu Momo curled his lips in disgust. I have made tens of thousands of calculations, and none of them had a winning rate higher than 30%. Because I've placed a bet. Chunan laughed out. Huh? Gu Momo was stunned. Does this have anything to do with the trial? Even if you bet, you can't win just because you bet you are not. Inexplicably, Gu Momo was stunned on the spot. You. Hee, because I bet more on the blue side. Chunan smiled and shrugged. Compared to your data, I believe in my luck more. Such a metaphysical saying, if it was put in other places, it would definitely be snorted at. However, it was Chunan who said it. She really believed him. Because Chunan was truly an existence that was like a mystery to them. Simply put, he was surrounded by a myriad of destiny. The fortune of the human race seemed to be swirling around him. Can you imagine going out for a walk and falling off a cliff and not dying? He had obtained a supreme treasure. Others went through a lot of hardships to cultivate, but he just ran 2 laps around the planet, and he had an inexplicable epiphany. Go out to gain experience, to be able to obtain a peerless cultivation technique. He dug out the seeds of divine plants from the undeveloped land of the planet. As long as he went out, the road would be clear. He wanted to buy something, even if there were countless people in front of him. When he went over, those people would leave with all sorts of reasons. Take their first trial, for example. Originally, when they encountered a trial, due to the difficulty factor, the possibility of completing it was almost zero. They were all ready to give up. He wanted to withdraw from the trial. At this moment, 2 monarchs suddenly appeared in space, fighting. The shock waves from their attacks killed their trial target. It could be said that their journey was like a game. Can you believe it? In this kind of outer space, Chunan even picked up a magic treasure that was at least at the king level. You think your luck will let the blue team win? Yeah. Chunan shrugged. I believe in my luck. I don't believe I'll be the last in points. Then, all right then. Gumomo didn't know how to retort. Just based on Chen An's life, it wasn't impossible for the blue team to have a miracle. At the same time, Monarch, their energy seal still hasn't been removed. I suspect there's a problem within their planet. Jianan frowned, muttering, should we wait a little longer? Wait for what? The Dominator World Monarch frowned. Don't tell me you're still insisting on your thoughts, waiting for the war preparations to begin. That's indeed what I'm thinking. Jianan nodded. He didn't think there was a problem with his thoughts. Their current method of attack was the safest. And even if they were to investigate, the situation within the Sacred Universe country was still unclear. Jianan, I said it. There's no problem with your thoughts, it's just that you're too conservative. The Dominator World Monarch seemed to agree with Jianan's words. That's how he was. If Jianan didn't say anything, then he would actually be suspicious of Jianan. Heh! The Dominator World Monarch's gaze turned cold. They're still setting up an energy seal at a time like this. Do they think they can scare me with that? Jianan, it's all fake. Before the tyrannical world ruler could finish his sentence, a spaceship slowly appeared in space. Bailey, send them a message. Yi Zichen stood in the cabin. This time, he didn't directly go in front of the Dominator World Monarch. He was afraid that the Dominator World Monarch would attack him out of anger. Thus, he stayed in the cabin, at a safe distance. If the Dominator World Monarch really wanted to attack him, then he would instantly return to the planet. Milky Way Lord. Hello, cripple. We meet again. Yi Zichen laughed when he heard the voice in the cabin. Who did you say? Who knows who I'm talking about? Yi Zichen purposefully taunted him with a smile. I wonder who was the one who was half dead from the explosion, but you sure are tough. Are you a tortoise? You're still alive even now. How was it? Did I blow you up into a yin-yang man? I think so. You're courting death. Why would I be afraid of trash like you? Yi Zichen sneered disdainfully. You little yin man. Hurry up and kneel before me, the Milky Way Lord, and become my lapdog. Let me tell you, there are still 100,000 energy cannons on my planet. If you take another step, you will die without a burial place. Milky Way Lord, you must take responsibility for your words. Take responsibility? Yi Zichen asked in confusion. You're a yin-yang person, how do you want me to take responsibility? It can't be. Yin-yang people's sexual orientations have changed. Are you so scary now? If you're interested in me, I advise you not to. I find it a little disgusting. Everyone, charge. The world domination ruler clenched his fists tightly and bellowed. If you come, you will die. Think carefully. Yi Zichen muttered. You. Just wait for your death. The world domination ruler roared angrily, then grabbed his communicator. Everyone, charge. Destroy them at all costs. Today I must kill this brat. Not even Wenli can protect him. I said it. Chapter 2761. The dominating world ruler was infuriated. He was a genius. To be able to break through to the country lord level in 10,000 years, and to be at the peak of the country lord level at that, this was enough to prove his unparalleled talent. For the past 10,000 years, he had always been the center of attention. Furthermore, his family's status in the universe wasn't bad. Ever since he was born, he had never encountered such a vulgar and vile insult. This little rascal! I want to tear him to pieces. Enraged, the world domination ruler's monarch aura gushed out from his body. The reproaches standing beside him were all smashed into the walls of the cabin by his aura. Monarch, please calm down. Jianan endured the aura of the world domination emperor and shouted with great difficulty, the Milky Way Overlord is intentionally provoking you. He wants you to bring people to kill your way in. You need to be careful. The Lord of the World Domination Kingdom was gnashing his teeth and clenching his fists, but his emotions had calmed down. No matter what, he was still a monarch. He knew very well that anger would devour his reason, and he couldn't let that happen. He had to consider the problem with a peaceful mind. Country King, we have no choice but to guard against him, Jianan muttered. The ruler of the World Domination Kingdom frowned at Yi Zichen, who had no intention of retreating. He had already disconnected the call. However, his gaze remained fixed on Yi Zichen's cabin. Jianan, you're right. The World Domination ruler nodded. He is indeed deliberately provoking me. This kind of behavior is too deliberate. That's right, Monarch. Jianan nodded vigorously. So I think he definitely has a backup plan. No. Suddenly, the world-dominating ruler shook his head in a firm tone. He definitely did not. Monarch? Seng Nan was genuinely shocked that the ruler of the tyrannical world country would say such words. Think logically. What would Yi Zichen gain from provoking the World Domination Country King on purpose? He'd make the World Domination Country King so angry that he'd attack his child's star. Why would he do that? If he didn't have any backup plans, he wouldn't be able to provoke the World Domination ruler. Wasn't it just asking the sacred region universe country to give it for free? There was only one possibility, and that was that he had a backup plan waiting for the World Domination ruler to attack. Moreover, he had intentionally sealed the planet with energy from the very beginning, so that the surveillance equipment would not be able to find out what was happening inside. All these signs pointed towards the sacred universe country's backup plan. Jianan, I know where you are surprised, and I know what you are thinking. The World Domination ruler grinned and said, Are you thinking that logically speaking, I would definitely attack that little ruffian if he angered me? If he doesn't have a backup plan, my attack will only hasten his death, so he will definitely have an ambush. Yes. Jianan nodded. But, do you think that little ruffian didn't think of it? The eyes of the World Domination ruler sank. Although this little ruffian has a foul mouth, I can't deny that he is actually a little smart. Even if he is a little short-sighted, he is still able to think of such a logical problem. So under the premise that he thought of it, it's very likely that he's fighting against my logic. Anti-logic. It was difficult to understand. He purposely did this to make us think that he has an ambush, so that we don't dare to attack rashly. The World Domination ruler laughed. This way, while we are suspicious, he will be able to carry out other arrangements to defend against our subsequent attacks. Ruler, this can't be right. Jianan couldn't understand. Such a false threat, how long can it last? The time is short, but it's already precious enough to him. The World Domination ruler laughed confidently. The Iron Armor country's self-destruction is something that he probably didn't expect. The impact of the self-destruction had a huge impact on him as well. He needs time to prepare, recover and rearrange his arrangements. If we suddenly attack now, he won't have the time to prepare, so he can only use such a risky method to fight for his life. Fight for his life. Right now, Jianan was truly unable to say anything at all. He was convinced by the World Domination ruler's point of view. Anti-logic. This kind of anti-logic could very well be what he believed himself to be. With such a way of thinking, anyone would think that there was something wrong with his thinking. It's fighting for his life. Seeing Jianan's confused expression, the World Domination ruler laughed even more gleefully. He loved such a feeling. Others couldn't see it, yet he could. Only by doing so could he show off his intelligence. He already has no way out, he has to fight for his life. The World Domination ruler laughed. Even if he doesn't provoke me, I will still attack. Provoking me is also an attack. If he doesn't attack, he will definitely choose the latter. Also, you have to consider the past. His people have all self-destructed. If they weren't forced into a corner, why would they self-destruct? Also, did you see anyone give the Sacred Galaxy Universe country battle equipment? We didn't keep an eye on them. Jianan frowned. Actually, they never intended to wipe out the Sacred Galaxy country. Don't chase a cornered enemy. This logic was applicable in the universe too. Tianhai was after all a knight. If he was pushed to the brink of despair and self-destructed his god body or energy, the consequences weren't something they could handle. Their original intention was for Tianhai to retreat. Hence, they naturally didn't keep an eye on Tianhai. It was just that they didn't expect the ancestral dragon clan's trial to suddenly come. This forced them to attack Tianhai. It's true that we didn't keep an eye on them. However, if there really was a large batch of equipment here, would our people not know? The world domination ruler laughed mockingly. What did that little ruffian say? He has 100,000 energy cannons. If he really has so many cannons, why doesn't he attack us after the star-tier cannons finish firing? Wouldn't he gain the most then? Yes. Also, it's impossible for them to have 100,000 energy cannons. There's another important point. There was simply no one who would trade with Tianhai. Don't forget, from the start of the war, Songyu's Star Master had already arranged things. Those families that do war business won't sell any resources to them. The Virtual World Corporation doesn't even have enough for themselves now. The knight is right. One word from the knight is enlightening. Jianan cupped his hands. It's nothing much. If you think more thoroughly, you will become like me. The world domination ruler laughed. He wants to use this to threaten me. I won't give him the chance. With that, the world domination ruler took out his communicator. Everyone. This time it's a real order. I admit that I was a little emotional earlier, but now I've thought it through. The 100,000 energy cannons are a scheme of the Sacred Galaxy Universe country. I order you all. Charge. Chapter 2762. In a split second, tens of millions of soldiers swarmed out. The entire space seemed to be covered by them, like a swarm of locusts rushing towards the Sacred Galaxy Universe country star. Retreat, retreat, retreat. Looking at the army of the world domination ruler charging into space, Zhang Xian's eyes widened in shock. Yi Zichen, who was standing in the cabin, hurriedly urged Bailey to fly the ship back to the twin star. It was too exciting. Here it comes. Yi Zichen was so excited that he almost jumped up. The fact that the world hegemon country had launched an all-out attack meant that Yi Zichen's entire plan had been carried out perfectly. Furthermore, his analysis of the world hegemon country was absolutely correct. I didn't expect you to panic. Bailey, who was piloting the spaceship, laughed. His tone was somewhat secretive. He was a little doubtful. Was there anything in this world that Yi Zichen didn't dare to do? He was openly provoking a monarch-level expert, and using such vile words at that. This was completely putting his life on the line. Am I panicking? Yi Zichen's expression was calm as he looked at the dark mass in the distance. I'm excited. The flight speed of the spaceship was definitely much faster than those people flying in the sky. Even the ruler of the world domination country. He couldn't say that he could catch up with the spaceship with his flight technique, let alone the others. Yi. The spaceship landed on the planet. The people who had been waiting for a long time all came forward to welcome them. He's here. Yi Zichen smiled excitedly towards Su Yan and company, then took out his communication device. Everyone get ready. 200,000 energy cannons were all aimed at the void of the subsidiary star. Will it work? Everyone was thinking about this question. However, no matter what, they were more eager to succeed. Lord, 3,000 kilometers. The members of the investigation team reported the distance. 2,000 kilometers. 1,000. 500. 130. The army was getting closer and closer to the sun's star. Hua Jianrou's frown deepened. In her opinion, it was already close enough for her to fire. Truth be told, in the first report, they were already capable of firing when they were 2,000 kilometers away. However, Yi Zichen still didn't give the order to fire. The people operating the energy cannons were all tense. They were also very anxious, and many of them wished they could open fire right now. They know that they need to wait for Lord Ye's orders. He fired rashly. It could very well affect the Lord's entire plan. Lord, the barrier is under attack. Someone shouted from the communicator. The attacks are very concentrated. We can't hold on much longer. Hold on. Yi Zichen shouted into the communication device, then considered that there were indeed a lot of people on the other side. There were only a few million people maintaining the energy barrier. Moreover, their overall strength was definitely no match for the world domination ruler's side. Tianhai, help me maintain the barrier. Before we say we can break through, we can't let them break through. However, there's one thing you have to pay attention to. You can't let them feel that there's no hope of breaking through. Your role is to slow down the time it takes for them to break through. You can't completely stop them. Can you be more specific? Tianhai frowned. Just make it seem like we're putting up a stubborn resistance. Yi Zichen pursed his lips. That's what it feels like to grit our teeth and stabilize the barrier after it breaks. Understood. As soon as he finished speaking, Tianhai raised his palm. The turbulent energy of the universe gathered in the void. With the addition of the venerable Tianhai, the situation of the boundary formation instantly improved. Not going to attack? Hua Jinro frowned. We have to wait a bit. We need to wear down the world domination ruler's patience and make him a bit more arrogant. Yi Zichen pursed his lips and frowned. This can be said to be the final disguise. Attack. In outer space, the world domination ruler roared angrily at the soldiers as he stood in the void. A flood of attacks landed on the barrier. He could feel the cracks on the energy barrier growing larger and larger. Once the cracks reached a certain size, the other party would suddenly close the cracks on the barrier. Over 10 million soldiers were unable to break through in a short period of time. Give them a good beating. Attack! The world domination ruler's voice was like a long whip that spurred the soldiers to attack. Jianan stood at the periphery with a frown. Ruler, we can't break through. That's right. The world domination ruler laughed coldly. Jianan, do you see that? If it's really as that little ruffian said, and they have 100,000 energy cannons, then why are they still making a fuss about the barrier? We've already entered the core, so why aren't they attacking? He doesn't have those energy cannons. Jianan muttered. That's right. The world domination ruler laughed heartily. He's still trying to argue with me? Does that little ruffian really think that I, the ruler, am an idiot? Jianan, I'm telling you, that little ruffian is panicking right now. He's afraid that we'll break through just like that. Right now. If there are no surprises, then all of them are doing everything they can to reinforce the barrier. Your Majesty is truly far-sighted. This subordinate admires you. Jianan bowed. To be honest, Jianan was starting to feel like everything Yi Zichen had said was fake. His thoughts were pretty much the same as the world domination ruler. If they really had 100,000 energy cannons, then they should have attacked when they entered 10,000 kilometers away, and not fought them with an energy barrier. I didn't think that the world domination ruler was actually right. Jianan was rather dissatisfied. He was now hoping that Yi Zichen would really have 100,000 energy cannons and kill the world domination ruler's arrogance. It would be even better if he could beat the world domination ruler to the brink of death. Just like when the iron armor ruler blew himself up. If he could do it all over again, he would definitely not have saved the world domination ruler. He would have chosen to kill him instead. Obtain his most precious treasure. If you want to live in the human race universe for a long time, strength is one aspect, but brains are more important. With a confident smile on his face, the dominating world ruler stretched his neck and walked to the edge of the barrier. Everyone, move aside. Monarch. Everyone opened up a path for him. The world domination ruler narrowed his eyes. His right hand was wrapped in a thick layer of cosmic energy. Break. He punched the energy barrier. Yi Zi, that monarch should be taking action personally. Should I continue? Yi Zichen chuckled, no need. I'm waiting for him to do it himself, but you can't retreat yet." Then Yi Zichen took out his communicator. "Everyone, withdraw from the barrier and stop supplying energy to the barrier." The members of the barrier team immediately stopped pouring energy into the barrier, leaving only Tianhai behind. Perhaps the world domination ruler did not know that he was only facing Tianhai at this moment. Chapter 2763. He punched out. A peak-level king's punch could destroy the heavens and the earth. This punch of his. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was as powerful as the tens of millions of soldiers. Even though there were king-level experts amongst the soldiers, the difference between a peak king and a peak king was tens of thousands of times greater. The World Dominator King's punch was comparable to the punches of tens of thousands of king-level experts. Everyone held their breath. It didn't shatter. Even the dominating world ruler was taken aback when he saw that the energy barrier was still in the state of a barrier after he punched out. How is this possible? Based on his estimations, even if all the Sacred Region Universe Nation members were maintaining the barrier, his punch was more than enough to destroy it. The backlash of the energy would heavily injure all of them. At that moment, the soldiers only needed to charge in, end Yi Zichen's life, and destroy the energy crystal. Heh! I underestimated them. The World Dominator King intentionally said that in order to hide his embarrassment of not shattering the barrier, he wanted to prove that he hadn't used his full strength. The other warriors also understood after hearing this. No wonder. If the World Dominator King had used his full strength and still failed to break the barrier, then they would have found it strange. The World Dominator King let out a sigh. The surrounding soldiers all held their breaths, afraid that their breathing would disturb the World Dominator King. The surging cosmic energy gathered towards the World Dominator King's right fist. The raging cosmic energy caused many of the universe-level experts to feel suffocated, and the intense pressure caused them to be unable to continue standing. Break! All of a sudden, the world domination ruler's fist landed heavily on the barrier. This time, he didn't use 100%, but 200%. He had already used his full strength earlier, and since there was no result, he even used a secret technique. Pierce. The thing that an energy barrier feared the most was breaking a little. As long as it broke a little, the other parts of the barrier would lose their defensive power. Retreat. Yi Zichen frowned when he saw the data Bailey provided. Sovereign Tianhai easily retracted the energy from the barrier. Crack. A crisp sound rang out from the barrier. Everyone stared at the broken part of the barrier. The corners of the world domination ruler's mouth curled up into a smile. That's right. How could his fist not be able to break through such a low-level energy barrier? The cracks grew larger and larger. In less than half a minute, without any energy to stabilize it, the energy barrier outside the satellite star was like a broken mirror. Whoosh! It vanished in an instant. Charge in! The dominating world ruler raised his arms and shouted. Immediately, the soldiers outside rushed into the star as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They came in. Tianhai reminded. Good timing. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and stared at the data Bailey provided, while calculating in his heart. Just as they were 10,000 meters away from the ground. Fire! Boom boom boom! 200,000 energy cannons fired at the same time, and the huge recoil caused the entire planet to tremble. They were the warriors who had rushed in as soon as the barrier was broken. None of them had made any preparations. The cannons boomed. Not good, the enemy has energy cannons. Before the warriors at the front opened fire, they noticed the energy cannons on the ground. Before he could send out the message, the energy cannon landed on his body. Instantly annihilated. Retreat. There's an energy cannon. Retreat. It's an annihilation cannon. They still have annihilation cannons. The people who had rushed in all rushed out like madmen, while the people who had no idea what was going on immediately clashed with the people who were running for their lives. All of a sudden, the scene turned chaotic. Everyone was so focused on escaping that they even forgot to set up an energy barrier around them. Actually, they might have already made the decision in their hearts. Even if they set up a barrier, it would be too late. What's more, the energy cannons didn't lose any energy at all at such a close distance. They would definitely die. What made them panic wasn't the energy cannons. It was the annihilation cannons. These annihilation cannons are so useful. Yi Zichen looked at the situation in the sky. Annihilation cannons were completely different from energy cannons. Energy cannons were blue in color. Annihilation cannons were pitch black like black holes. As for the function of annihilation cannons, it was no different from its name. Annihilation. Anything that was hit was instantly annihilated. Yi, you are the undisputed number one faction in the second universe. Tianhai couldn't help but nod. Either side. None of them had established an empire like Yi Zichen. Most importantly, his technology had developed to a frightening level. There were plenty of big shots in the first universe. Once they entered the second universe, they too had memories of technology. In truth, they could also start with technology. But of course, they had to have enough resources and materials. In terms of resources, the first and second universes had some things in common, but there were also many things they didn't. High-end equipment, combat equipment, battleships, spaceships. None of these could be brought directly from the first universe to the second, but resources could. Indeed, the first universe's resources could be used in common with the second universe's. Quite a few clans had managed to overcome this hurdle. Then they had to face their second problem: location. If they wanted to conduct research, they needed a suitable research location, and they had to ensure that no one else would interfere. The humans of the second universe. They knew full well that their research abilities couldn't compare to those of the gods who'd suddenly visited them. If they found out someone was conducting research, they'd immediately destroy it. This was all because of the Upheaval Alliance. Their research had already given the second universe a headache. They couldn't let a second Upheaval Alliance be born. Given these circumstances, when humans from the first universe entered the second universe, they all started at the domain level. In terms of strength, they were far weaker than the natives of the second universe. Only the Upheaval Alliance had truly stepped forward. Furthermore, the Upheaval Alliance enjoyed its first wave of research benefit. Before the second universe had even received any warnings, thanks to Meng Tai's understanding of research, the Upheaval Alliance had already become a prominent faction in the second universe. Many researchers chose to join the Upheaval Alliance as well. As a result, the Upheaval Alliance grew stronger and stronger, and the gap between them and the other factions grew wider and wider. Take the Annihilation Cannon, for example. Annihilation cannons were already considered high-grade weapons in the human realm. If the second universe could even develop such weapons, one could imagine just how advanced the Upheaval Alliance's research abilities were. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the Milky Way couldn't compare to the Upheaval Alliance's research abilities. Furthermore, Yi Zichen really was focusing on the Upheaval Alliance's research, while the Milky Way's research was secondary. Tianhai had once thought, if the Upheaval Alliance was given enough time, they could become the second universe's virtual world corporation. Chapter 2764. It was said that in the face of absolute strength technology, it wasn't that important. Before the Virtual World Corporation had reached its current scale, everyone snorted disdainfully at its scientific research. But who would have guessed that human lives were now inextricably linked to the corporation's research? It didn't matter if it was the virtual network. It didn't matter if they used daily necessities. They couldn't live without the corporation. The most important point was, the Virtual World Corporation's research prowess was so great that their combat equipment was even more advanced. That's right. Against hegemons and sovereigns, pure scientific research wasn't that effective. But against people below the level of Count or Marquis, High-level research was deadly but also life-saving. Right now, the Upheaval Alliance was in the second universe. Thanks to their research prowess, Chaos City suffered so few casualties that the natives of the second universe were jealous. The Upheaval Alliance could invade other life and resource planets as they pleased. They also had high-end medical equipment, high-level war equipment. More importantly, the second universe hadn't been around for long, so it didn't have that many peak-level experts. Back then, when Li could even use her own strength to cast an illusion over the entire second universe. It was undeniable that when Li's strength was important. But it was also clear that the second universe truly didn't have many experts. Of all the Milky Way the Upheaval Alliance had conquered, their greatest enemy was a Marquis. A Marquis. That was enough to claim a quarter of the second universe's Milky Way. Based on that, what about the other universe countries and planetary systems with life? Of course, calling it a universe country was a bit of a stretch. The second universe didn't even have the concept of a universe country yet. However, there were many empires. The Upheaval Alliance had only been around for a dozen or so years. If they were given enough time, the Virtual World Corporation really might become the second universe. At least, that's what Tianhai thought. Why are you suddenly bringing this up? Yi Zichen smiled at Tianhai. You're making me feel a bit embarrassed, even though you're telling the truth. A second ago, he'd been embarrassed, but a second later, his expression turned serious. This drastic change made Tianhai shake his head and laugh. You brat! To tell the truth, Tianhai considered himself quite lucky. After entering the second universe, he'd befriended Yi Zichen. He was a friend who could go through thick and thin with him. TCH, what are you pretending for? Hua Jianro pouted. Miss Hua, please watch your words. Do you still want your family to develop under the banner of the Upheaval Alliance? Yi Zichen glared. Hua Jianro's expression instantly changed. Lord Yi, this little girl didn't mean to offend you, please forgive me. Suddenly, the atmosphere became a lot more cheerful. Especially in the context of such a huge battle, it seemed especially strange. He was right. Strange. They still had the time to joke around when the planet was bombarded with cannons. Clearly, they did not take this battle to heart at all. Great God, did we win this time? Meng Luo muttered. Something like that. Yi Zichen looked up at the humans, who were scurrying around like ants on a hot pan. He nodded. There shouldn't be any unforeseen changes. We're definitely going to win. Furthermore, this annihilation cannon is really good stuff. I have to get Meng Tai to develop more of it. So many people died. Meng Luo curled her lip. There's nothing we can do about it. If they don't die, we die. Meng Luo, don't be too soft-hearted. Bai Yu tousled her hair. In the future, you'll be the head of the Spirit Rabbit clan. You have to learn to be ruthless. This is just a small matter. Bai Yu is right. Although his words sounded cruel, that was the truth. It was just a few dozen million people. There was nothing to be alarmed about. The human race's population could be counted in billions, 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 billions. I know, Meng Luo laughed. If only I could unite the human race. If anyone dares to kill, I'll kill them all. When Yi Zichen heard her rather cute words, he tousled her hair. Our era's Society of Supremes had the same thoughts back then as well. Huh! You don't need to. Of course, Yi Zichen smiled. In truth, I can't deny that in the early days of the universe, when the new era was founded, everyone wanted peace. But as time passed, the human race developed internally, and war was inevitable. Right now, we're at the stage of the turn of the era. Even if we rule the universe in the future, we can't change it, and the human race will fall into chaos in the future. Yi Zi is right, Tianhai nodded in agreement. It's indeed impossible to have eternal peace. One's heart will change, and humans are creatures driven by desires. The human race isn't as simple as you divine beast clans and spirit beast clans think. Humans are very complicated. After a long period of peace, Ambitious people will always be born, like Tsang Yu right now. Yes, Tianhai. Yi Zichen's expression darkened at the mention of Tsang Yu. You have a light elemental fairy, right? Yes, it's in a deep slumber now, Tianhai nodded. Tianhai nodded slightly. Didn't I already say that Cold Moon is here for my light elemental spirit? He's collecting elemental fairies. Yi Zichen frowned. I'm not sure, Tianhai shook his head. I'm a victim at most. Given my status, I don't have the right to investigate him. I think Blue Emperor might know what he's trying to do and say. Blue Emperor? Yes. The Universe Union Bank is the largest intelligence gathering place. He should know. Isn't it the Virtual World Corporation? No, Tianhai laughed. You've been fooled by appearances. The Virtual World Corporation seems to have the most information, but the Universe Union Bank is actually the true powerhouse. The Virtual World Corporation was more focused on the production of firearms. Due to the relationship between Wen Li and Blue Emperor, the two companies can be considered as one. The Virtual World Group's intelligence department is controlled by Blue Emperor, while the Universe United Bank's finance department is controlled by Wen Li. So that's how it is. Yi Zichen was stunned. Firearms production requires a large amount of money. For Wen Li's convenience, Blue Emperor gave her control over the finance department. She can spend as much money as she wants, but she has to make up for it in a certain amount of time. Tianhai smiled. Tianhai laughed. Actually, in our circle of paragons and overlords, this has long been an open secret. Oh my god. Never mind Yi Zichen, even Meng Luo and the others were shocked. They clearly didn't know about this. That's why, if you really want to know about Tsang Yu, you can go ask Blue Emperor. Even if you ask Winnie, she'll go ask Blue Emperor, Tianhai shrugged. But I don't recommend you to ask about this. Why? You are still too inexperienced. Chapter 2765. Too inexperienced. Yi Zichen naturally understood Skycia's evaluation. He wasn't looking down on him. What he wanted to express was purely Yi Zichen's current strength. He didn't have the right to know that. That was the truth. If he really wanted to find fault with him, at most, he wasn't being too tactful. Indeed, Star Lord Songyue was a supreme expert. Yi Zichen was only a general. Even if he knew what Songyue wanted to do, it wouldn't help. Rather, it would only add to his worries. Think about what you should do based on your position. Don't think about biting off more than you can chew. Fine, then I won't ask, said Yi Zichen. I'll just focus on my training mission. I wonder how the world domination country's ruler is doing right now? Your Majesty, hurry up and retreat. They have annihilation cannons. Countless experts cried out in panic in the chaotic sky above the secondary stars. A torrential barrage of cannon fire. These experts panicked and lost their heads out of fear. The world domination king froze. The instant the energy cannons rang out, he froze in place. How was this possible? The holy region really did have energy cannons. Yi Zichen hadn't been lying. That wasn't all. They had high-grade annihilation cannons. The annihilation cannon could even damage the king of Tyrant King, let alone the soldiers who were below Duke rank. The energy cannons and annihilation cannons clashed. More and more warriors fell, falling to the ground of the twin star. Your Majesty, hurry up and order our brothers to retreat, shouted Jianan. Jianan, who was standing at the periphery, shouted, the enemy's attacks are too concentrated. Everyone is in a mess. We need you to take charge of the situation. Little did they know, the world domination king didn't listen to them at all. All he could think about was Yi Zichen, that little scoundrel. Could it be that everything he'd done was on purpose? Was he trying to use this method to lure me into his trap? Those self-detonations. Yi Zichen had planned it. In other words, he'd been played. He was the one in Yi Zichen's palm. His every move was being led by the nose. That was impossible. He was the mighty king. How could a little general-level scoundrel see through him? Your Majesty! Attack! The Overlord World Ruler stood in the sky above the twin star and shouted, "No one is allowed to retreat. Charge in and kill them. Destroy the energy crystals and kill that little ruffian. Just close your eyes." The ruler of the World Domination Kingdom could only imagine how Yi Zichen was mocking him. Laugh at his presumption. She laughed at him for being toyed with, and even felt smug that she had seen through everything. He couldn't stand it. He had to kill Yi Zichen here. Attack! The World Domination Country King shouted as he happened to see a person running towards outer space. He raised his hand and grabbed it with the energy of the universe. The human who had his neck grabbed by the neck looked at the World Domination ruler with fear in his eyes. "Monarch! Who told you to run? I want you to kill your way in." The World Domination King shouted at him. "Who gave you the order to retreat?" "My order is for you to go in and kill the enemies." "Monarch, they have annihilation cannons." "What's wrong with the annihilation cannon? Don't tell me you don't dare to attack with the annihilation cannon? You said they didn't have any battle preparations. Are you insisting on me?" Before he finished speaking, the World Domination Country King slapped the commander-level expert on the head. Instantly, the peak commander-level expert's skull shattered. His eyes were filled with terror and unwillingness, and he lost all signs of life. "Monarch!" Jianan watched in shock, speechless for a long time. "Kill your way in. Without my order, no one is allowed to retreat. Anyone who retreats will die." The World Domination Country King roared. When the surrounding people saw that he'd actually killed one of his own, they grew even more anxious. Attack or retreat? No one was able to make a decision. "This guy's really crazy." Yi Zichen stood on the ground and squinted at the World Domination Country King. He naturally saw what Yi Zichen had just done. Not only did he not order his subordinates to retreat, he even ordered them to attack without regard for their own lives. Now, he was using the Sacred Region's energy cannons and annihilation cannons. What was the difference between that and throwing their lives away? "He's probably furious," muttered Baiyu. Baiyu muttered, "He's still a monarch, but from start to finish, he's been led by the nose and walked step by step into your trap. You said it before, he's a prideful person, and one who's extremely confident in himself. Now that our attack has destroyed his confidence and arrogance, he naturally can't accept it." "That's a very thorough analysis." Yi Zichen nodded with a smile. Indeed, with the World Domination Country King's personality, he definitely couldn't accept his failure. "But we have to make them retreat." Yi Zichen muttered. "Retreat? Aren't we going to annihilate them all?" Hua Jinro frowned. "With our energy cannons' energy reserves, we do have the ability to annihilate them. What's more, the Sky Sea King is here as well. Even if the World Domination Country King comes in person, he won't be a threat to us." "That's right, but we won't win just because we fought." Yi Zichen let out a sigh. "If we kill all of them, then the enemy will send even more people. I want to let it go and fight them for a bit longer." "Yi, if we let them leave, wouldn't the World Domination Country King ask for reinforcements?" Hua Jinro asked. "What do you think?" Yi Zichen chuckled. "You said it just now. Ask for reinforcements." "Yes." "Do you think the World Domination Country King will lower himself to ask for reinforcements?" "He definitely won't. Even if we let him go now, he'll definitely be thinking about how to destroy us with his own strength." "Isn't that a bit risky?" Baiyu frowned. "Haven't we always been taking risks?" Yi Zichen shrugged. "If we want to win this trial, then we have to take risks. Otherwise, how could we possibly win?" Yi Zichen rubbed his nose, then looked at the World Domination Country King with a frown. "How do we make him retreat? Do you want me to do it?" Tianhai asked. "Absolutely not." Yi Zichen quickly shook his head. "If you do it, then it means that you, as a sovereign, have fully recovered. At the very least, you can fight. No matter how arrogant the world domination country king is, he wouldn't be so arrogant as to think that he's no match for a sovereign like you. He will ask for reinforcements. Then, I got it. With that, Yi Zichen licked his lips, then muttered a few words into the communication device, then stepped into the air. He stood in the middle of the cannon fire and stared at the world domination ruler in the void. World domination, how does it feel to be played? Can you give me a speech? Chapter 2766. The dominating world king's heart was filled with rage. Even now, he still couldn't accept it. He was a majestic country-level expert, a peak existence in the entire universe. Yet, he was being toyed with by a general-level brat. All he thought about was walking into his opponent's trap. If Yi Zichen acknowledged all of this, then, it meant that from the moment they met, Yi Zichen had already seen through him. This was something he couldn't believe. How could he have such a temperament? To be able to make such accurate judgments with just a few words, and then make a series of plans based on his personality, he was definitely lucky. That was definitely the case. The defeat this time had nothing to do with the dominating world king. If he had to blame something, he could only blame the brat for being too lucky. There was also another important point. Where did he get all this equipment from? How could such a large amount of equipment not be discovered? When they set off, the sovereign didn't mention this. It was his fault. It caused the dominating world king to make the wrong judgment. Everything he had planned was based on the premise that the sacred domain universe country didn't have any equipment. He firmly believed that there wouldn't be any problems, which was why he made the decision before. But now, they had so many pieces of equipment, even the annihilation cannons. If the sovereign had said all this, how could he not have considered it and be on guard? The defeat this time has nothing to do with me. Definitely not. It's not that I fell for a trap, it's that there was a problem with the information they gave me that affected my judgment. That's right. I'm not wrong. The dominating world king muttered to himself like he was in a nightmare. Jiunan furrowed his eyebrows. What time was it? Was he still trying to push the blame away? What's more, the dominating world king actually ordered his subordinates to continue charging under the enemy's energy cannons. Just what was he thinking? King, our men can't charge any further. Jiunan gritted his teeth and roared. If this goes on, we'll all die here. Let's retreat, we can ask the sovereign for help. What did you say? Ask for help. The dominating world king raised his voice. Puny little scum from the Saint Galaxy Universe country, how could I, the ruler of the dominating world country, not be able to take them down? Are you insulting me by asking for help? World domination ruler, I'm thinking of your suggestion. Jianan whispered. Actually, from his reprimanding tone, it could be felt that his tone was no longer the same as before. The soldiers died one after another. Anyone who still had the slightest bit of kindness in their heart would not be able to bear to see such a scene. That's right, war did require ruthlessness. There was nothing wrong with using an iron fist to enforce military discipline. However, in a situation where death was certain, because of his own selfish desires, he made millions of soldiers unable to retreat and fight to the death. Censure was unacceptable. The ruler of the world domination kingdom also felt that there was something wrong with Rebuke's tone. He was already in an emotional state, so he grabbed Rebuke's neck. Is this how you should treat me? Monarch, even if you kill me now, I still hope that you can be rational and allow our warriors to withdraw from there. The world domination ruler could not utter a single word to reprimand him, so he transmitted his voice to the world domination ruler. You think I won't kill you? Roared the world domination ruler. World domination ruler. At that moment, a low voice sounded in the world domination ruler's ears. When he heard that familiar voice, he instantly looked in the direction of the voice. Yi Zichen, that little scoundrel. How does it feel to be played? You're so full of yourself that you think I'm at my wit's end, don't you? How does it feel to be bombarded? Yi Zichen grinned. The world domination ruler's eyes instantly flashed with lightning. You little scoundrel! His towering anger surged over him like boiling lava. Yi Zichen's eyes narrowed into slits as he looked up at the world domination ruler. You're angry, aren't you? What a pity you're just a failure. Monarch level. That's all you've got. Yi Zichen shrugged disdainfully. When the world domination ruler saw Yi Zichen's contemptuous gaze, it was like a match igniting the flames in his heart. Little scoundrel, do you really think I don't dare kill you? Hurry up and come. If you dare, I'll send you to the Western Paradise. Yi Zichen shrugged with a chuckle. Right, you don't know what the Western Paradise is, do you? The Western Paradise is to send you to the Western Paradise. It's to send you to your death. You're seeking death. The world domination ruler tossed Jianan into space. The universal energy around his body rumbled. The great god really likes to mess around on the edge of a knife. The flame rat looked up into the sky. Even from where they were, they could feel the towering anger of the world domination ruler. Most importantly, his surging universal energy. The entire sky above the child star was stirred up by his universal energy. Yet, even under such circumstances, Yi Zichen remained calm as he looked at the world domination ruler with contempt. This agitated the world domination ruler even more. Boss Tianhai, the great god will be fine, right? Meng Luo looked up at the sky and muttered. Don't worry. Tianhai nodded. If the world domination ruler really does make a move against him, I will immediately set up a barrier around Yi. I believe that Yi knows this as well, which is why he's doing this. Before that, let's not ruin his plans. What's the great god's plan this time? Meng Luo muttered. The others frowned as well. Only Bai Yu and Su Yan looked towards the energy cannon. Perhaps no one noticed. The cannon hadn't been fired for a long time. I'm seeking death. Hurry up and kill me. Living is so boring, but it's fun to toy with idiots like you. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes with a smile. Little scoundrel, I'm going to kill you. The world domination ruler no longer cared if Wen Li and the others found out. Right now, he was going to kill that little scoundrel. Even if Wen Li really did come, would Sanyue let them do as they pleased? Yi Zichen stood calmly in place. He looked at the approaching world domination ruler with his hands behind his back. World domination. Even now I'm starting to wonder if you're really stupid. Yi Zichen cracked his neck, then abruptly disappeared from the sky. When he reappeared, he was already at the location of the annihilation cannons. The water elemental sprite stood beside him, and there was a water screen in front of him. Can't you tell that's fake? Yi Zichen shrugged with a smile, then pointed at the annihilation cannons around him. Do you recognize them? If you don't, I can introduce them to you. These are annihilation cannons. 20,000 in total. Fire. Chapter 2767. 20,000 annihilation cannons. Under Yi Zichen's command, the cannons roared without end. The king of world domination's fist shattered, and the projection of Yi Zichen froze in place. Fake. I actually didn't notice. At that moment, the king of world domination no longer cared about Yi Zichen's words. He stood stiffly in the air. Lingering in his mind were his own questions to himself. World domination. What's wrong with you? Are you really going to be toyed with by this little general-level ant to this extent? Anger. Has it really swallowed up your rationality? The failure of the war this time could be attributed to the Venerable One's imperfect information on the war preparations. But this time, Yi Zichen, this little general-level ant, had used a water elemental fairy as a projection. This was his personal problem. He knew that Yi Zichen had a water elemental fairy. Your Majesty! Junan shouted in the sky. The king of world domination looked up and saw the worry on Junan's face. Beneath his feet, 20,000 annihilation cannons were blasting towards him. Your Majesty, watch out! Jiunan shouted and pointed at the annihilation cannons flying towards the King of World Domination. The King of World Domination seemed to be in a daze. He slowly looked down and saw countless annihilation shells that looked like artificial small black holes devouring the surrounding space, slowly blasting towards him. Annihilation cannons! How can the Sacred Universe country have so many annihilation cannons? Where did they get them from? These preparations definitely weren't made by the Sacred Universe country from the start. If they really had such preparations, Sky Sea wouldn't have lost their main planet when they were still at their peak. These preparations must have come later. But the sacred region is currently under the Sovereign's control. There's no way they wouldn't know if there really were preparations. What's more, there are even annihilation cannons, something that even the King of World Domination would fear. All of a sudden, the King of World Domination's expression turned serious. Annihilation cannons. These are annihilation cannons. 20,000 annihilation cannons are a threat to me. The King of World Domination really wanted to slap himself when he saw the annihilation cannons right before him. What was I doing just now? Stunned. Why was he in a daze in the middle of such a huge battle? He used to be such a cautious person. Such a mistake would never happen to him. Cosmic energy mixing. It's too late. The moment the world domination monarch came to his senses and prepared to set up an energy barrier, he realized that he did not have enough time. It was also impossible to retreat. 20,000 energy cannons surrounded him completely. More importantly, if he retreated now, the 20,000 annihilation cannons would directly hit the warriors. At this moment, he had regained his senses. He was no longer the furious him from back then. These warriors could not die. No matter what it was, they needed to survive. As for how to attack the Sacred Universe country, that would require further planning. In the end, the world domination ruler did not put up any resistance. He stood in the void above the child star, stretched out his arms, and set up a huge energy net in the void. It would be great if the annihilation cannon's attack landed on him. The energy cannon attacks were all blocked by him. He was the commander. Due to certain reasons, he had made some wrong decisions, causing many soldiers to die in this battle. As the commander, he could not escape the blame. At this time, all he could do was rely on his own strength to block the attacks from the energy cannons and annihilation cannons. This would give his subordinates precious time to retreat. Retreat! Retreat back to the temporary space station. The Sacred Universe country's attack plan needs further planning. Jianan. Organize and retreat. The world domination ruler lowered his eyes and communicated. Hearing the words in his mind, Jianan looked at him in shock. Ruler, I'm sorry for my wrong decision. I'll apologize to everyone later. For now, you guys hurry and retreat. I'll hold them back here. The world domination ruler's gaze was like a torch, looking at the cannons below. Come on. Rumble. A deafening rumble exploded in the void. Whether it was the annihilation cannons aimed at the world domination ruler or the energy cannons aimed at the other invaders, all of them were blocked by the world domination ruler alone. The way he opened his arms was like a blazing bird burning its life force. With him alone, he ensured the safety of millions of invaders. Ruler! The soldiers in the sky called out. No matter how wrong the world domination ruler's decision was, who doesn't make mistakes in life? When the world domination ruler finally understood, when he bought time for the soldiers to retreat, they no longer hated him. My lord! More and more people shouted in the direction of the world domination ruler. In just a few short minutes, 20,000 annihilation cannons fired 5 times, and 200,000 energy cannons fired 10 times. 100,000 annihilation cannons and 2 million energy cannons fired. Even if the world domination ruler was at the peak level, even if he was at his peak, it would be difficult for him to stop them. What's more, he had only recovered a bit more than 40% of his strength. The world domination ruler spat out a mouthful of blood. After spitting out this mouthful of essence blood, the world domination monarch used his hand to draw a huge energy-sealing barrier in the void. Condense. The barrier stabilized. The world domination ruler clutched his chest and endured the roiling blood in his body, then glared fiercely at Yizichin, who was standing by the annihilation cannon. Milky Way Lord. I, the world domination ruler, will remember this. Rumbling thunder resounded through the air. Shortly after, the world domination ruler, who had stabilized the barrier, turned his head and turned into a streak of light, disappearing without a trace. Stop. Yizichin slowly raised his hand. The sacred region universe country warriors that were firing their cannons all stop. Recharge the energy cannons and annihilation cannons. My lord, did we win? Sort of. All of a sudden, loud cheers sounded out in all directions. Yizichin stood silently on the spot, while Tianhai, Su Yen and company also hurried over. Yizi. Great deity! Yizichin nodded when he saw their gazes. However, from his expression, it was clear that he wasn't very excited. What is it, Yizi? I'm starting to regret it. Yizichin frowned and looked at the barrier the ruler of the world domination country formed in the sky. He seems to have come to his senses. If he becomes rational, then it won't be a good thing for us. We'll deal with it when it comes. Tianhai patted Yizichin's shoulder. Don't worry, I'm here. You've already done enough. Take this time to have a good rest. The world domination ruler will need to rest for more than a month after the annihilation cannon. That's more than enough time for us to rest. I know. Yizichin smiled, then looked up into the sky. Yizichin smiled, then looked up at the sky. Chapter 2768. Unbeknownst to them, the human universe was also in an uproar. Everyone who'd participated in the ancestral dragon clan's trial was paying close attention to Yizichin's battle. Those who believed that the red side could win from the very beginning. They were all waiting for the moment when the blue crystal shattered. They all wanted to see it with their own eyes. He was waiting for the mission points to enter his account. How is this possible? Seeing that the world domination ruler was seriously injured and forced to retreat, Lion Hong instantly stood up from his seat. Lost. With the strength of the world domination ruler and the tens of millions of elites, the heavenly monarch would be able to defeat the heavenly monarch. He actually lost. Where did they get all these war equipment from? Forget about the interstellar energy cannons, they can even bring out the annihilation cannons? Lionheart knitted his brows tightly as he watched the live broadcast. Where the hell did they get it? Why wasn't there any news before? I'm not sure. The others in the cabin shook their heads. Trash. Lion Hong clenched his fists tightly. It's just destroying the remnants of a sacred region universe country, is destroying their energy crystals that hard? If I had gone, it would have been over long ago. What's wrong with the ancestral dragon tribe? Why didn't they choose me? We lied about our coordinates. Yeah. The people in the cabin murmured. Back then, in order to be a match for the Milky Way Lord, Lionheart had intentionally lied about his coordinates, saying that he was currently within the sacred universe country. That was. The ancestral dragon clan's reply was that they had lied about their coordinates, not to mention that he didn't qualify. He was also fined 400 points. Damn it. Lion Hong's gaze sank as he gritted his teeth while looking at the situation in the live broadcast. Kakot is also trash. The ancestral dragon tribe actually chose him to be the opponent of the Milky Way Overlord. He has already been demoted in the Mercenary Alliance. Even if he goes to the red side, no one will listen to him. Lion snorted coldly. Also, are those venerables fools? Why didn't they just turn out in full force? They only sent 20 million people and even got a trashy ruler to lead them. Aren't they just giving that galactic overlord a chance? Lion Hong stood in the cabin and cursed. From his colleague, Prince Kakot, to the ruler of the dominating Era Kingdom, he didn't even spare a venerable. They slandered him with all sorts of words. It was full of what he considered trash. Everyone in the cabin remained silent. No one wanted to provoke Lion Hong in this situation. I hope that the world domination ruler, that trash, will not be so full of himself after he returns. No matter what, he's still a monarch. You're actually being played by a general. Can't you see such a simple problem? I really suspect that the world domination king is one of Yi Zichen's men and is doing this on purpose. Idiot! No matter what Lion Hong said, the people in the cabin didn't speak. It was just that, in their hearts, there was more or less some slander. At the very beginning, Lion Hong also held the same view as the world domination monarch. He even praised the world domination monarch for his sharp thinking. But now the topic had suddenly changed, and everyone had become fools. Then what was his job? Wasn't he one of them? Considering his background, they couldn't be bothered to say anything more. Let him do whatever he wants. When they arrived at the ancestral dragon tribe, it would be best for them to split up if there were any missions that they could execute separately. Otherwise, why would he follow such a fool? They probably wouldn't have a good ending either. Do you see that? I need luck. At the same time, in an interstellar battleship in outer space, Chen shrugged arrogantly and tilted his head as he watched the video. Regarding this outcome, the people in the cabin didn't find it particularly strange. Their young master's luck was truly heaven-defying. It was just that. They never would have guessed that the sacred domain cosmic country would have such preparations. Where did they come from? Is there still anyone who dares sell war equipment to the sacred domain cosmic country? The people in the cabin muttered amongst themselves. Even though they were all subordinates, they knew quite a bit about the situation in the universe. They all knew that the true invaders of the sacred domain cosmic country were Tsangyue Galaxy. In order for the invasion to proceed smoothly, the Lord of Tsangyue Galaxy, they'd long since established a relationship. She told those in the war business not to sell any resources to the sacred domain cosmic country. Even basic resources were not allowed. Under such circumstances, they had hundreds of thousands of energy cannons and tens of thousands of annihilation cannons. Those who bet on the red side are probably going to be dumbfounded. Chernan twisted his neck, his face ruminating. Actually, I can't blame them. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Who asked me to be so lucky? Even if the Milky Way lords didn't have the war equipment, the invaders would still have meteorites to smash them to death. Guillermo was speechless. Yet she couldn't refute Chen An's words. With his luck, it wasn't impossible for such a situation to happen. Right, aren't we about to reach the ancestral dragon clan's coordinates? Chen An said. Yes, little trash. The attendants in the cabin muttered. Actually, they didn't want to call him that, it was Chen An who shamelessly asked them to. We're probably the first to reach the ancestral dragon clan. Who knows, there might even be a reward for being the first. Chen An grinned. My premonition is very strong. Don't even think about it, all right? Just as Gu Momo's voice fell, the space in front of them suddenly changed dramatically. A huge black hole that was tens of thousands of light years wide. A black hole that looked like it was about to swallow the entire universe suddenly appeared in their vision. The battleship suddenly stopped. Such a huge black hole was rarely seen even in the entire human race universe. We seem to have arrived. The pilot stuck his head out of the cabin. Just as he said that, a team of 100 people appeared around their battleship. Everyone in the team was wearing silver armor. The leader was a middle-aged man with a cold expression. Country Lord Level. The King Level guard in the cabin muttered. Please show your identity. The cold man went straight to the front of the cabin, separated from Chen An and the rest by a layer of new energy glass. We are from the Weapon Alliance. Trial participant Chen An. The cabin's door opened, and Chen An led everyone down. The middle-aged man didn't reply for a long time, his gaze fixed on Chen An for a long time. Identification. Lord Chun and 10 members in the team, confirmed. Difficulty factor 256 times, confirmed. Just like a robot, the leading country lord expert muttered to himself. Immediately, he stretched out his hand, his gaze was kind. Welcome, Lord Chun, and who came from afar. As you're the first trial participant from the Ancestral Dragon Clan, please head to the Ancestral Dragon Clan's Elder Cabinet to receive your reward. Chapter 2769. He was shocked. What was going on? There was really a reward? Gumomo's eyes were wide open as he listened to the Ancestral Dragon Race's words. His mind was filled with question marks. For a human to be this lucky, it was already good enough. See, there really is a reward. Churnan smiled after knowing the results. I had a feeling that there would definitely be a reward, and it wouldn't be too bad. You really are the chosen one. Gumomo muttered. Momo, how can you say that? I am not the chosen one, I am a trash. Churnan stared with his eyes wide open. If you continue to spout nonsense, I will get angry. Crazy. If it weren't for Chun An's parents' repeated reminders before he came, and if it weren't for Chun An's mother being a gentle person, Gumomo really wanted to quit now. Was he here for a trial? Prince. He was probably a fool from the neighboring village. The landlord's foolish son. Lord Chunin, you can head to the Elder's Court now. We will give you a reward, and at the same time, provide you with free food and lodging. The monarch-level expert reminded. All right. Chunin nodded with a smile and winked at the people behind him. Let's go. Are we going to drive the warship in? Gumomo pointed at the warship beside him. Just leave your navigation equipment outside. When your trial is over, we will return the warship to you. The monarch-level expert said softly. Wait outside. Gumomo grabbed onto this question and pointed at the black hole in front. Don't tell me that we are going into the black hole. Yes. I am not going. Gumomo turned and walked towards the cabin. Entering the black hole. Are you courting death? Gumomo was someone who had received modern education. Black hole. To the people from his place, it was the most mysterious place. After entering, the black hole's pressure would definitely crush them to death. The ancestral dragon race wanted them to die. Chunin, I wish you success. I am not going to mess with you anymore. I have to return to the Milky Way galaxy. Gumomo waved her hand, looking like she was saying, Go and play by yourself, I am leaving. Momo, are you going to quit? Chunin exclaimed, Then I'll quit too. I'll follow you to the Milky Way galaxy. Without the slightest hesitation, Chunin turned around and walked toward the cabin. Third Prince. The guards and attendants all frowned. Gu looked at him silently for a long time. Why are you following me? I just like following you, Chunin said. Are you crazy? Yeah. How shameless. Gumomo raised her head and looked around. From the eyes of these people, she could tell that she couldn't leave. No, this, sir. Gumo pursed her lips and pointed at the black hole. Are we really going there? Can we survive in the black hole? Sure. Are you sure? Yes. The monarch-level expert's expression did not change. May I ask if you have decided to withdraw from the trial? If so, please leave as soon as possible. Everyone's eyes were gathered on Gumomo. Damn. Gumomo bit her lips and whispered, Don't look at me, I'll go. Only until her voice faded did the surrounding people heave a sigh of relief. Don't look at them threatening her with their eyes. However, they were all clear that this prince of theirs was purely a bootlicker. If she really wanted to leave, they really couldn't touch her. Otherwise, their prince would definitely cry, throw a tantrum, and hang himself. However, I have a condition. Gumomo bit her lower lip and said, Chunin, use that blessed mouth of yours and repeat what I said to me. Red sighed, sudden death of the entire family, rebound ineffective. Red sighed, sudden death of the entire family, rebound ineffective. Churn unrepeated. Blue side will win. Milky Way Overlord will be safe. Blue side will win. Milky Way Overlord will be safe. Obedient. Obedient. I'm praising you, I didn't ask you to repeat. Are you an idiot? Gu Momo raised her hand and slapped the back of Chin An's head. This slap caused the guards and attendants to be alarmed. Let's go, enter the black hole. I really want to see how people live in this black hole. When I go back, I will write a black hole thesis and publish it. Gu Momo muttered to herself. She flicked her braid and walked into the black hole. Before she left, she even pouted to the ruler, "Lead the way." Phew. Milky Way Overlord. Temporary Space Base Station. At the base constructed from the wreckage of the spaceship, the ruler of the World Domination Kingdom was covered in holes left by the annihilation cannons. The ruler of the World Domination Kingdom was suspended in the air above the temporary space base station. Surrounding them were the warriors of the invaders, and they weren't in a much better situation. Many of them were injured by the energy cannons. They were currently absorbing the energy of the universe to recover. As for those who were still unharmed, they were all looking at the position of the ruler of the World Domination Kingdom with their fists clenched. Phew! Yet another round of energy recovery. The ruler of the World Domination Kingdom let out a long breath and slowly landed on the temporary space station. The guards standing outside immediately rushed up to him. "Ruler! Jianan, you're right. I was careless." The ruler of the World Domination Kingdom's expression was filled with exhaustion. However, his arrogance and pride had completely disappeared from his eyes. He let out a long sigh and sat on the ground, looking at his palms. He had indeed lost. He could find excuses for all of his previous failures, except for the fact that Yi Zichen had used the water elemental sprites to create a water curtain and lured him into the range of the annihilation cannons. This was his own fault. He had let his anger get the better of him, which led to his current situation. War requires rationality. Censure. I didn't pay attention to your warning, and that's why I'm in this situation. The ruler of the World Domination Kingdom muttered, then took out a set of armor from his bosom. The armor glowed with a rainbow-colored light. Jianan stared blankly at the armor in the hands of the World Domination ruler in confusion. "Take it. It was your medicine that saved me when my armor self-destructed. It's the same this time. Your medicine is a good treasure. I wore this armor when I first became a country lord. It's a monarch-level armor. It's not the best among the monarch-level defensive artifacts, but it's enough for the current you. Ruler." Jianan looked at the ruler of the World Domination Kingdom in shock. He didn't expect that this failure would have such a deep impact on him. "Take it. I won't be able to rest easy if you don't. Jianan, take it." Chapter 2770. It was hard to imagine how much of a blow the ruler of the World Domination Heavenly Country had suffered to cause such a drastic change in his temperament. He had never mentioned anything about the medicinal liquid. Now, he had even taken out a monarch-grade battle armor to repay his debt. From arrogance to arrogance. Now, he was willing to admit his mistake. What was going on? Jianan frowned, not daring to extend his hand. Although in his heart, he really wanted to obtain this battle armor. Compared to a weapon, the value of a battle armor was much higher. Survival was the #1 priority for any expert with strength. Only after ensuring his own life-saving measures would he choose to supplement his offensive power. Moreover, compared to weapons and battle armors required more materials. Hence, the value of battle armors was much higher than weapons of the same grade. Back then, Jianan had used a monarch-grade weapon to exchange for the medicinal liquid. Now that the World Domination ruler had used the battle armor to repay him, Jianan had actually profited. "Your Majesty, I take it." The World Domination ruler revealed a rare, sincere smile. At the very least, Jianan, who had followed him for so long, did not feel that it was fake. "Ruler, this battle armor is too valuable." Jianan refused. "No matter how valuable it is, can it be more valuable than my life?" Can it be more valuable than a venerable? As soon as the world domination ruler finished speaking, everyone in the temporary space station turned to look at the world domination ruler. The status of a venerable? Jianan stared straight into the eyes of the world domination ruler. Ruler, why are you still in a daze? Hurry up and accept it. I need to apologize for my previous actions. The world domination ruler smiled bitterly. I once thought of keeping the medicinal liquid for myself and not giving you any compensation. Now that I think about it, my thoughts back then were truly laughable. Ruler, I owe you a great debt of gratitude. It's just a portion of medicinal liquid. It's not a big deal. Jianan pretended to be carefree despite his resentment towards the world domination ruler. This was the difference between a ruler and a subordinate. A ruler could make mistakes. He could also admit his mistakes. He would be forgiven and others would think that he was magnanimous. His subordinates didn't even have the chance to make mistakes. Even if the world domination ruler spoke with sincerity and spoke of his despicable thoughts, if he could not admit to it, he would suffer a calamity. Slandering the monarch? Courting death. He absolutely could not admit it. This was a must. You must be loyal, I believe. The world domination king said softly. Jianan, you are my most recognized subordinate. I'm most gratified that you've been able to follow me for so many years. Monarch. Faced with the world domination monarch's heartfelt words, the reproachful expression on his face was a little touched. It was as if all the grudges he had against the world domination ruler had been swept away in an instant. Jianan, keep the armor. The dominating world ruler took out the dominating world ruler's armor. That won't do, monarch. The armor is too precious. Jianan shook his head with all his might. If the monarch really wishes to compensate me, then just give me a weapon. Previously, I used a monarch-level weapon to exchange for it. No. To everyone's surprise, the world-dominating ruler actually refused. Jianan, this medicinal liquid is definitely a treasure. If you used a monarch-level weapon to exchange for it, I can only say that you've made a huge profit. With this medicinal liquid, I can tell you that even this armor is not enough to match the value of this medicinal liquid. If you give it to the sovereign, perhaps you'll get even more. I'm giving this armor to you now as compensation for the early stages of your development. When I obtain an exchangeable weapon and armor, everything I have will be yours. Gulp. Hearing the world domination ruler's words, everyone couldn't help but swallow their saliva. All the wealth of the world domination ruler. One must know that even though the world domination ruler couldn't be considered the wealthiest among the monarchs, he was still considered to be above average. His equipment were all top-notch equipment among the monarchs. If he gave all of this to Jianan, it would be equivalent to Jianan obtaining all the wealth of a peak overlord. Who wouldn't be tempted? Ruler, Jianan was stunned as he looked at the world domination ruler in panic. Ruler, how can this subordinate possess all of your wealth? This subordinate really? Wait until I break through to the sovereign realm, all of this will be useless. The world domination ruler said softly. Ruler, you're going to break through? Jianan asked in shock. The world domination ruler did not speak and merely nodded with a smile. Congratulations, ruler! Jianan immediately knelt on the ground. The surrounding warriors also followed suit. Get up, there's no need. Ever since the world domination monarch touched the threshold of the venerable realm, he seemed to have become much more relaxed and carefree. In other words, his temperament had changed. In the past, he desperately pursued status and other people's respect. But when he touched the threshold of the sovereign realm, only then did he realize how ridiculous all of this was. In the eyes of a sovereign, status and respect were no longer important. Even if he only touched the threshold. He also had a feeling that everything in the secular world had become dispensable. Strength was everything. Status, wealth, respect. In front of a sovereign, they were nothing. I haven't broken through yet. I've only touched the threshold. The world domination ruler smiled warmly. He had probably forgotten, how long had it been since he smiled so sincerely? To be able to touch the threshold, it means that you have the appearance of a sovereign. Jianan smiled. How many rulers are unable to take even half a step into the sovereign realm in their entire lives? Ha ha ha, that's true. The world domination ruler inexplicably released a boundless heroic spirit. But before I break through, there are a few things I need to do. One is to get rid of the obsession in my heart. One of them is you, Jianan. The world domination ruler took out the armor again. If you really wish for the best, then don't decline. Otherwise, even if I really break through, it will become a demonic barrier for me. Then, this subordinate will accept it. Jianan panted heavily as he grabbed the armor and knelt on the ground to kowtow. Thank you, ruler. There's nothing to thank me for. The world domination ruler grinned. This is what you deserve. Recognize me as your master. Before I gave it to you, I've already erased my previous imprint. Yes. Jianan, who was already impatient, hurriedly dripped his blood essence on the armor. At that moment, the armor released a dazzling light. The armor was the size of a palm. In an instant, it became close-fitting and draped over Jianan's body. Not bad. The world domination ruler nodded with a smile. Jianan was also overjoyed. With this armor, he could be said to be invincible among those of the same level. Ruler, based on what you said earlier, you should have other obsessions, right? Should we leave now? Compared to the trial, breaking through to the sovereign realm is more important. Jianan was troubled. No, we want to stay. The world domination ruler shook his head and pointed at the distant star. My obsession is right there. Chapter 2771. Just as the ruler of the world domination kingdom reached out, he knew that his obsession was Yi Zichen of the Holy Domain Cosmic Nation. Indeed, he understood. A mighty ruler was being toyed around in the palm of a general-level junior. He was bound to feel resentful. Never mind the ruler of the world domination kingdom. Even if he was the one to criticize Yi Zichen, put himself in his shoes, and he couldn't swallow his anger. Think about it. What exactly did Yi Zichen do? He slandered him. And it was all vulgar language. He didn't care about his status as a Milky Way overlord at all. The ruler of the world domination kingdom had a lofty status. How could he endure such words, which were like those of the universe's gangsters? The universe believed that the strong were respected. When facing someone stronger than you had to respect them. Even if you had a powerful background, you had to respect them. That was what a junior needed to do. That was obvious from Bai and the others' behavior. They were all second-generation geniuses at the very top of the universe. Their ancestors and clans were all rather powerful. Their clans had plenty of sovereigns and overlords. In fact, Bai's father was even a supreme expert. Even so, when facing a sovereign like Tianhai, even though his holy domain cosmic nation was in dire straits, they still treated him with respect. This was the treatment that experts in the universe deserve. The ruler of the world domination kingdom. He didn't sense it from Yi Zichen. All he got was insults. He really did need to pay attention to these things when breaking through. After attaining a divine soul, breaking through was no longer just a matter of breaking through to the star level or breaking through to the star level. Breaking through to the titled level was a breakthrough in the divine soul. Normally, when a commander broke through to the count level, the person breaking through would complete their unfinished business. They would focus on condensing their divine soul without distractions. Otherwise, they might run into nightmares while condensing their divine soul. Those unresolved issues would become obstacles to the breakthrough. Minor breakthroughs would fail. More serious breakthroughs might even cost them their lives. The same was true for those above the count level. One couldn't be careless when breaking through to the divine soul. Anyone who condensed a divine soul didn't come easily. No one was willing to give up what they had. Unless it was someone who truly had no pursuit of life, like the Iron Armor Emperor. He had no desires. He, who had been unable to break through for tens of thousands of years, suddenly chose to give up. When he wanted to end his life, he broke through to the country lord level without any obstructions. Perhaps it was this lack of desire that allowed him to break through the barrier. If he continued to focus on increasing his strength like before, it was very likely that he would never be able to touch the doorstep of a monarch in this lifetime. From the looks of it, there were only two ways to break through. Either he had no desires like the Iron Armor King, or he had resolved all his obsessions. To seek a breakthrough without any distractions. The dominating world ruler obviously couldn't do the former. He was currently in the prime of his life, and he was also very proud of himself. Previously, the king had almost never touched the threshold, but now, he had touched the door of the Venerable One. If he broke through to the Supremacy Realm, even though he wouldn't be the fastest human to break through to the Supremacy Realm, it would be enough for him to look down on everyone else. He would definitely not give up hope of survival. Then, if he wanted to break through, he had to choose the latter. Your Majesty, the Milky Way Overlord can be killed. Ever since the world domination ruler's temperament changed, handing over the armor to Jiunan, and even promising to hand over everything to him, Jiunan's expression had changed. Not long ago, he even slandered the world domination ruler. Jiunan was filled with resentment. In the blink of an eye, he had become the world domination ruler's loyal dog. He didn't even care about Yi Zichen's identity. What Milky Way Overlord? Anyone who stood in his way of breaking through was someone he could get rid of. They all had to die. Yi Zichen's identity was special. He didn't know if the Milky Way Overlord was dead or alive. He had Wan Li and the Blue Emperor backing him, and Venerable Spirit Phoenix, who controlled destruction and space. It was all useless. As a loyal dog, he had to get rid of all obstacles in his master's way. Oh? He can be killed? The world domination ruler squinted his eyes and looked at Jiunan for a long time. In truth, he was still worried about how Yi Zichen would deal with him. This person. He was very meticulous. He looked like a spoiled brat, but he was actually full of schemes. The world domination ruler admitted that he had underestimated him. Furthermore, the Milky Way Overlord title came from the Society of Supremacy. In other words, he was recognized by the Society of Supremacy. His background and connections were all worth worrying about. Tell me, why can I be killed? Your Majesty, if he really is your obsession, then even if you have other obsessions, you have to get rid of the Milky Way Overlord as soon as possible. Jiunan squinted his eyes. Jianan squinted his eyes and said, "They are going to participate in the Ancestral Dragon Clan's trial. I don't know how long it will take for them to come out again after the Ancestral Dragon Clan opens. The time it takes for you to break through to the supremacy level is more important. We don't have that much time to waste on him. What's more, Yi Zichen might be our only chance to get rid of this little ruffian. Whether he goes to the Ancestral Dragon's lands or carries out some other mission, it won't be beneficial for us. Right now, the Red and Blue trials are still within our control. Also, once the Ancestral Dragon Clan's trials are over, his strength will increase by leaps and bounds. We can refer to the results of others who participated in the Ancestral Dragon Clan's trials. Even the weakest among them will be a marquis. I'm not trying to boost his morale. Since this Milky Way Overlord went to the Ancestral Dragon Clan, it wouldn't be strange for him to be conferred the title of king after he comes out. That's right. The world domination ruler nodded. He didn't deny this. Then think about it, Your Majesty. As a regent, he naturally won't be a threat to you. However, this will affect his position in the eyes of Wan Li and Emperor Lan. If you make a move on him at that time, Even if you break through to the supremacy level, if the two of them are determined to avenge the Milky Way overlord, will the Tsangua Star Lord be able to withstand such heavy pressure? But now, the Milky Way overlord is just a small general. The trial mission is more chaotic. We can take advantage of the chaos to get rid of him. If Your Majesty wants to deal with him personally, we can destroy the surveillance devices in the subsidiary stars in advance so that they can't upload images to the virtual world group. This way, even if they suspect you, they won't have any evidence. After you break through to the supremacy level, your position in the Tsangua galaxy will also rise. By the time they find solid evidence, it will be too late. Jiunan's analysis was clear and logical. The world domination ruler smiled and nodded. Good analysis. This is what I should do. Jiunan laughed. Your Majesty, should I apply to the supremacies now to allocate some elite warriors for us? After that, just as Jiunan was about to speak, the world domination ruler rejected him. You can't inform them. Chapter 2772. Not notifying. Jinan doubted what he just heard. In other words, he was starting to doubt whether the world-dominating ruler's words and actions were all an act. As a result, he felt that the armor he was wearing now, except the consequences would be full of doubt. He couldn't be blamed. After following the world domination country king for thousands of years, he had been influenced by him and his personality had become similar to the world domination country king. He was filled with doubt towards everything. King, you just said that you won't notify? Jinan frowned and felt very uneasy. Why? I can't notify. I have to deal with it myself. The world domination country king's words were sincere. Then, he seemed to have thought of something and laughed. Jinan, don't worry, I made this decision after careful consideration, Yi Zichen said with a smile. I definitely didn't do it out of anger or frustration. Jinan watched as the world domination country king smiled so warmly and said such words. Jinan's furrowed brows relaxed slightly. King, why? The sacred cosmic country's energy cannons were already there. Everyone knew that if the world domination country king could defend against the energy cannons once, they could defend against it a second time. They didn't even need to think about destroying the crystal. This time, their attacks had caused the deaths of many experts. Jinan counted the king-level experts. There were 4 in total. 21 dukes. Marquises and counts didn't need to be mentioned. In front of the annihilation cannons, they were dispensable. In other words, there were people who could truly ignore the annihilation cannons, or at least not deal fatal damage to them. There were less than 30. Even under such circumstances, the world domination country king was still thinking about killing Yi Zichen with his current strength. No. Jinan suddenly thought of the world domination country king's words. He said to deal with it himself. In other words, he didn't want to use any of these people? King, you have to reconsider. Jinan wasn't afraid of the world domination country king scolding him. This time, the sacred cosmic country dealt a fatal blow to us. It will take at least 2 months for our people to recover. During this period of time, the energy cannons of the sacred galaxy universe country will also finish charging. If that's the case, if we attack, we will face the same situation as before. We will be defeated by the energy cannons and annihilation cannons. Secondly, the sacred universe country was able to obtain these energy cannons and annihilation cannons without us knowing. We can't be sure if they will be replenished in the future. If that's the case, our chances of winning will be even lower. I think it's not shameful for us to seek help from the Venerable One. Under such a situation, with our people, especially after the steel armor country emperor self-destructed, destroying all our preparations, it's understandable that we can't win against the sacred universe country. Monarch, please reconsider. Tsing Nan tried his best to persuade the world domination ruler. Everything he said now was for the sake of the world domination ruler. That was the truth. Before they sent out their troops, even the knights and the rest didn't know that the sacred universe country would have such preparations. Moreover, the armored king was also a variable. Even if the knights came personally, with 20 million people, they wouldn't be able to defeat the sacred universe country. I know. The world domination ruler laughed. There wasn't any hostility in his expression. Jianan, I know you're doing this for my own good. You've considered everything, I understand your thoughts. You're not wrong, 2 months of time is indeed the time for the enemy's energy cannons to finish charging. Also, there's a chance they'll be replenished. I actually have a rough idea of the source of their preparations. Where? Jianan frowned. Up till now, he still hadn't figured out where the sacred universe country had obtained all these preparations. Furthermore, they had done it without anyone noticing. 200,000 energy cannons. Even if they used battleships to transport them, it would require at least 10,000. If such a large number of battleships were to enter the sacred universe country, there was no way they wouldn't be discovered. Universe 2. The world domination ruler laughed. We've considered everything, the only thing we haven't considered is the Universe 2. Ruler, you're talking about the game that the Virtual World Company released a while ago. The world domination ruler laughed and replied, Didn't Onely clarify later on that it wasn't a game at all, but a true Universe 2 within the universe. Is that so? This was the first time Jianan had heard of this. He hadn't paid much attention to these things. He was more concerned with the matters of the real world. Then, what has this got to do with their preparations? I've looked up some information about the Universe 2 before. The world domination ruler replied, The Universe 2 is a very special environment. Our resources can be brought into the Universe 2. Everything from the Universe 2 can be brought back to the Universe 1. Also, Sky C did enter the Universe 2 about 10 years ago. Maybe he knew that there was no way out for him in the real universe. He had to go to the Universe 2 to open up a market. There's such a thing. Jianan was shocked. That's right. The world domination ruler nodded. Back then I was actually quite disdainful of the Universe 2. I never felt that it was worth our attention. But from the looks of it now, the Universe 2 is a huge variable. There are annihilation cannons and energy cannons there as well? It's possible. The world domination ruler didn't deny it. The technology there might be similar to our Universe 1. Sky C should be doing well in the Universe 2. He must have gotten to know some expert. He used some of his own resources or treasures to trade with the other party. Jianan knitted his eyebrows. Since that's the case, then all the more you can't. No, I have to deal with it myself. The world domination ruler patted Jianan's shoulder. The dominating world ruler raised his hand and patted Jianan's shoulder. Jianan, I truly understand your good intentions, but you're not me, so you can't truly understand my thoughts. Yi Zichen is my obsession. If I get rid of him with external help, I still won't be able to feel at ease. I can only deal with him myself in order to be completely at ease. Your Majesty, then, do you need us? Are you guys still willing to help me? The world domination ruler smiled wryly. Actually, I wanted to deal with it myself. No matter what, it was my decision that caused us to suffer so many casualties. Your Majesty, we are willing. All of a sudden, everyone in the temporary space station stood up. Your Majesty, I, Jianan, am your subordinate. I will be your subordinate for the rest of my life. Please do as you please. Jianan said seriously. When the world domination ruler saw the gazes of the people in the temporary space station, he revealed an indescribable expression of relief, let out a sigh, and bowed deeply. Thank you. Chapter 2773. The Overlord's expression was sincere. Everyone could feel that the ruler of the world domination heavenly kingdom seemed to be different from before. The previous overlord, when there were no knights, he was the sky. He was cold towards the other country leaders too, not putting them in his eyes at all. Even the knights, he had slandered them behind their backs. The warriors didn't know. Jinan knew. Just from the start of the invasion of the Sacred Universe country, it could be counted back to about 10 years ago. Songyue suddenly gave the order, launching an all-out attack on the Sacred Universe country, stealing the light elemental spirits from Tian Hai. At that time, everyone was shocked. While they were shocked that Tian Hai had the elemental spirits, they were also shocked at Songyue's sudden order. All-out attack. In addition, this time, they had sent a total of 4 venerables, more than 10 emperors, and countless kings and dukes. From this, one could see Songyue's determination. The results were not bad. The elite army was something the Sacred Universe country couldn't resist at all. Tian Hai retreated step by step. In the end, he went to that child star. During this period, also in these 10 years, Jinan had heard countless times of the overlord privately criticizing the knights. As a subordinate, he could only keep his mouth shut. He was like that even to the knights. One could only imagine what kind of attitude he had towards the soldiers. To put it bluntly, he had never even looked at the soldiers properly, not even seeing them as humans. In front of them, the world domination ruler was a high and mighty existence. It was impossible for him to personally bow and lower his status to express his gratitude like this. Country leader, why do you have to do this? Jiunan hurriedly walked over and helped the world domination ruler up. He was shocked. He didn't expect that touching the threshold of the knight level would cause such a drastic change in the emperor's personality. He had followed the overlord for thousands of years. He had never seen him treat anyone like this. Even if it was a knight or an overlord, he still maintained his composure, his expression filled with arrogance. It's what I should do. The king of world domination country smiled sincerely. At the moment of his thanks, he felt a sense of relief he had never felt before. In the past, he had indeed been too arrogant. He had never thought of gratitude. In the end, the reason why he was able to obtain his current position was related to his subordinate. They were indeed attached to his body. These subordinates had indeed made him a success. Without them, he wouldn't have the glory he had before. Imagine if he was alone for the rest of his life, just like the Iron Armor King. Could he have everything he had today? He reckoned that it was unlikely. It was his subordinates who had slowly raised him to his current position. These people were the ones he should thank the most. However, he had never thought of it that way before. One could imagine how arrogant and conceited he was. Moreover, look at the current situation. His wrong decision led to the deaths of millions of people. Even so, these people were still willing to stand firmly behind him. Why were they not worthy of receiving his thanks? In the past, I was really too selfish. The dominating world ruler shook his head and sighed. I'm really grateful to all of you, and I'm also grateful for your recognition of me. I don't know how to repay him. Even though I've collected quite a few treasures over the years, I've already agreed to give them all to him. I hope you can understand. His medicinal liquid is worth this much. Your Majesty, we understand. The warriors spoke. Some of you have been following me for a long time, and some have just joined me because of the Venerable's question. We'll forget about the past. Maybe this is unfair to those who followed me, but I hope that from now on, we'll be a family. After this trial, I'll give each of you 5 million universe coins. Earls and marquises, 50 million. Dukes and kings, 500 million. That's settled for now. As for how to distribute it, we'll think about it later. Of course, if I have any leftovers, I'll give them all to you. The dominating world ruler was heroic. Don't underestimate the number he mentioned. 5 million might not seem like a lot, but it was a huge sum of money for them. Moreover, the number of people at that rank was the highest. Millions of people. Since the dominating world ruler dared to make such a promise, he would definitely do it, even if he had to lose all his capital, because he was about to break through to the venerable realm. If he didn't fulfill this promise, it would be a nightmare for him. He had it all planned out. Once the trial was over, he would make a trip to outer space. He would kill some dominating world ruler and kings to replenish his wealth and distribute it to his subordinate. Or, he could go to a mysterious realm. He didn't need to go to a dangerous mysterious realm. He could just go to a middle-level mysterious realm and find some valuable treasures. For the dominating world ruler, this was a piece of cake. That was why. The stronger one was, the richer they would be. That was because they would have more ways to obtain wealth, unlike those who were weak. If they wanted to obtain wealth, they would have to do it step by step. Or, they could roam the universe and try their luck to see if they could come across any opportunities. We will pledge our loyalty to the dominating world ruler. Countless warriors knelt down in space. The dominating world ruler nodded with emotion. He could feel their passion. When had he ever seen such a scene? Okay. The dominating world ruler nodded. His expression became stern. I can feel your determination, but there are some things I have to say. If you decide to follow me, some of you will leave. The dominating world ruler spoke tactfully. If they left, they would die in battle. This is unavoidable. I can't lie to you. Actually, you are all very clear about this. The warriors fell silent. The dominating world ruler also sighed. I will do my best to ensure your safety. However, I can't take care of everyone. So, if any of you want to leave, you can say it. I won't blame you. Yes. Above everything, the dominating world ruler's words were powerful. The surrounding warriors looked at each other, but none of them took a step forward. That's true. It's not fair for me to let you make a choice now. How about this? I'll give you half a year's time. This time, I'm also planning to attack after half a year. During this period, you all have the right to choose. If you want to leave, you don't have to tell anyone. This way, no one will notice you. If you are still here, I, the dominating world ruler, can promise that if you die in battle, I will give your family 10 times the compensation. I will find the person closest to you. I, the dominating world ruler, will do what I say. Chapter 2774. 10 times the compensation. Even for titled warriors, it was 50 million universe dollars. Honestly speaking, it was very tempting. However, the prerequisite was that you had to die. If you died, the compensation would fall into the hands of the most important person to you, and it would be of no use to you. At most, it would allow your loved ones to live more freely. Exchanging one's life for it was indeed not worth it. Anyway, you all have a choice. I won't blame anyone who leaves, but if anyone stays, I will do my best to ensure your safety. It's still the same words, the choice is yours. The ruler's tone was warm. He gave the soldiers here enough room to retreat. They might consider the bigger picture. It wouldn't be good for them to say that they wanted to leave. He also believed that there would be people who wanted to leave. That was inevitable. Everyone had their own ambitions. He wouldn't force anyone to make a decision. He had to admit, he was no longer the previous ruler of the world dominator country. As the dominating world ruler's voice faded, Jianan glanced at the soldiers around him. He took in their expressions. All right, you can all disperse. The ruler waved his hand and laughed. You all should hurry up and recover. Don't be stingy with your universe energy. I've said it before, half a year, you have enough time to recover. As for the Saint Universe country's attack, you don't have to consider it, they won't. The ruler originally wanted to confidently say they wouldn't dare. However, just as the words were about to leave his mouth, he smiled and swallowed them back, saying warmly, I'm here. Even if there's an attack, I'll take good care of you all. Receiving the order to disperse, the soldiers all retreated, either to recover from their injuries or to discuss whether they should stay or leave. Jianan glanced at them and walked up to the ruler of the world dominator country. Ruler. Jianan, it's fine if you want to leave, I'll fulfill my promise. The dominating world ruler laughed. Ruler, I'll definitely not leave you. Jianan said seriously. You don't have to be like this. The Overlord World Ruler patted his shoulder. I'm just telling you so that you can relax a little. It seems like I've given you pressure, I'm sorry. Monarch, please don't be like this with me anymore. Jianan had a troubled look on his face. Even though we feel much more comfortable now that you're approachable and approachable, you're still a monarch at the end of the day. In terms of strength, you don't need to treat us like this. I used to think that way. The ruler of the world domination country whispered. I want to compensate you now. Forget it, there might be a problem with the method I found. Say it, you should have something to say to me. Jianan frowned and pondered for a while. To be honest, he wasn't used to it. Just say what you want to say. Monarch, Jianan pursed his lips and said, I actually just wanted to say, weren't you a little too lenient just now? What? I just looked at their expressions and gazes. Jianan looked at the warriors intentionally. Many of these people do want to leave, including those above the titled Battle Pet Warrior rank. If you do this, what will we do if we don't have anyone to use? You also said that you don't need the help of the Venerable Ones. Then let them go. The ruler of world domination country was very calm. Monarch, Jianan, do you not believe me? The ruler of world domination country suddenly frowned. No. I think you do. The ruler of world domination country shook his head with a smile. I understand what you're thinking. It's not the first time I've said this to you. In fact, your thinking is not wrong. According to common sense, there are many concerns that you've mentioned before, so I won't repeat them here. Jianan listened quietly at the side. The ruler of world domination country spoke softly, expressing his thoughts. There's nothing wrong. You're right, but I have my own ideas, and I have my own plans. This time, I won't underestimate the Milky Way Overlord. I've also considered everything. Monarch, you have a plan to defeat the enemy. Jianan's eyes lit up. The ruler of world domination country looked at him for a while, then revealed a bitter smile and shook his head. I really want to say that. But I really don't have one. No. Jianan looked at the ruler of world domination country in shock. He never thought that this would be the result. Even if he didn't have full confidence, he should at least have some ideas. Moreover, the ruler of world domination country clearly said that he had a plan. Jianan, you're my most trusted subordinate, so I'm here to support you. Actually, I don't think I'll win. The ruler of world domination country said something shocking. Looking at Jianan's surprised expression, he laughed. That's why I chose to let them leave. Including you. I really don't have a good plan. Actually, when I was recovering, I've considered many things and made many plans. I've also made countless calculations. My chances of winning are less than 10%. And this is under the situation where the enemy doesn't have any follow-up. Our side has considered everything thoroughly. The ruler of world domination country's reply caused Jianan to be stunned for a long time. Less than 10%. Still want to stubbornly continue? However, since the ruler of world domination country said so, Jianan felt that it was only natural. Think about it. Even when they were at their peak, they were still beaten to such a state. After losing millions of people, even if they attacked again, even if they set up defensive barriers in advance, annihilation cannons and annihilation barriers, energy cannons could still enter. Moreover, they might have follow-up reinforcements. Indeed, their chances of winning were slim. Ruler, why? Jianan couldn't help but sigh. If that's the case, why do you still insist on attacking with your own strength? What can you do, even if you look for a venerable? What's your current strength? The ruler of world domination country muttered. Peak King, you should know about it. Have you given up on your obsession? More or less. Jianan hesitated for a while. There's an enemy that I have yet to kill. Kill him before breaking through. The ruler of world domination country said sincerely. Ruler? When a king breaks through to a ruler, the tempering of the soul is far from that of a duke. When the time comes, you will know that it's a whole new level. The dominating world ruler said in a low voice, "If you don't kill your enemy, he will become your nightmare when you break through. Your spiritual soul might even disintegrate. At that time, you won't be able to give up your breakthrough even if you want to. Unless you choose to cut off your soul." Cut off? Yes, give up your soul forever. Of course, you will be stuck at the peak king level for the rest of your life. It's actually like this. Jianan was shocked. That's right. The ruler of world domination countryside. If it's like this when a king breaks through to a ruler, then it's easy to imagine what will happen when a ruler breaks through to a venerable. The Milky Way overlord is my obsession. I must use my own strength to deal with him, even if I have to win against him. Even if I know the chances are slim, even if I might die, I must do this. Jianan couldn't speak for a long time. He seemed to have understood. I really want to see the world of a venerable. The ruler of world domination country raised his hand and grabbed the void. My obsession must end in this trial, otherwise it will be meaningless. I don't want to be stuck at the ruler level for the rest of my life. I want to advance further. I have no other choice. Chapter 2775. No matter what Jianan thought, the world domination ruler was sure that any other venerable would make the same choice if they were in his shoes. Night. To the experts of the universe, it meant too much. Breaking through to the night level. You would be able to experience the mysterious laws of space, and your world would undergo earth-shattering changes. If there was no hope of breaking through, then so be it. If there was, why would he give up? Even if there was death, even if there was a slim chance of survival, the Dominator World King would still make such a decision. King. Jianan, please understand me. The Dominator World King let out a sigh, retrieving a crystal card. This is all my savings in the Universe Union Bank, as well as many treasures within, and the star contracts of the galaxies I own. King, what are you doing? Jianan frowned. I've agreed. The Dominator World King's expression was resolute, with a hint of a smile on his face. I have 200,000 primal chaos savings in the Universe Union Bank. In this life, I've made many mistakes, to the point that I haven't left any descendants. If I'm really unfortunate enough to die in battle, please help me distribute this money to the hands of those warriors. As for the star contracts and treasures within, they're all yours. The Dominator World King's gaze was calm, looking up at the darkness and emptiness in space. I've already used my quantum computer to authorize it. If I die in battle, you will be the #1 inheritor of this wealth. King, I can't take it. Jianan shook his head vigorously, pushing the crystal card back. You're too unlucky. I believe you'll definitely win. You've said it yourself, your wish is to win against the Milky Way Lords. The chances of that happening are extremely high. That's true. The Dominator World King laughed. He didn't insist any further, keeping the crystal card properly. Then we'll talk when the time comes. You go do your work too. I'll be staying here for half a year to heal. You can handle the requests from the night. Do we need to send people to keep an eye on the sacred galaxy universe country? Jianan glanced at the distant star. If you need, I'll watch them day and night. There's no need, right? The tyrannical world ruler let out a long sigh and chuckled. No matter what changes they make, we won't make any moves here. No matter what, my decision will not change. Just let them be. You should also rest well for the next 6 months. You've worked hard during this period. This subordinate understands. Jianan nodded his head forcefully. Shortly after, he took a deep look at the world domination ruler and said, "Then this subordinate will take his leave first. Please feel free to instruct me if there's anything the ruler needs. Go." Waving his hand, the dominating world ruler sat cross-legged on the ground and stared into the void. Venerable One, I hope I have the Venerable One's life. The tyrannical world country leader's retreat also brought about a precious period of truce between the sacred universe countries. That was not absolute. Based on the daily output of the camp, Yi Zichen and the others were constantly receiving a sea of points. During this period of time, the sub-planets of the Sacred Universe country were able to catch a breather. With the existence of life goddess Su Yen and the time elemental fairy, the injuries within the sub-planets began to heal. The second universe naturally became the Sacred Universe country. The greatest resource support. It was already impossible to purchase war equipment and resources from the first universe. Tianhai had already contacted all the people he could. All he got in return was apologies. This also allowed him to clearly see the true feelings he had for these people who had once called him brothers. That's fine. I'll use the lowest point of my life to see everyone's true colors. It's worth it. If it wasn't for that, if I've always been at my peak, I really wouldn't have been able to see through their hypocrisy. For Tianhai, he had to get through this night. In the future, he wouldn't accept anyone who tried to add flowers to his brocade. The Sacred Universe country was the Milky Way's strongest ally, even if the Milky Way betrayed him. He didn't care, because the Milky Way was the one who helped him conquer the sacred region. The only thing that made him feel ridiculous was that, out of all his wives, none of them treated him with sincerity. In the end, they all went their separate ways. Some even stabbed him in the back. "What are you thinking about?" A soft voice interrupted Tianhai's thoughts. When he looked up, he saw Yi Zichen wave his hand at him with a smile and wave it back and forth in front of his eyes. "Yi, what is it?" Tianhai laughed. "I do want to ask you, what are you doing?" Yi Zichen shrugged. "You were spacing out when I spoke to you just now. I called out to you for a while, but you didn't say anything." "I was thinking about something," Tianhai said. "Jingling?" Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows and asked in a testing manner. "Don't worry, I'll definitely save jingling. I've been keeping this in mind. If I don't save her, then I won't leave. If anything happens to her, then I'll leave the trial and annihilate all of those people's families." Yi. Tianhai's expression was rather grateful. Actually, rescuing Jingling was his business, but Yi Zichen's act of taking on such a huge responsibility caused Tianhai to feel a bit bad. Yi Zichen had helped him way too much. Take the current battle as an example. Tianhai had mobilized nearly 90% of the war equipment in the second universe. Annihilation cannons and energy cannons were all given to the Sacred Universe country first. As for the various pills, there was no need to even mention them. Even the Sacred Universe country's warriors privately said that their current benefits were even better than the Sacred Universe country at its peak. What's more, they even muttered half-jokingly that they wouldn't be used to such benefits in the future. "Let's not talk about this between us brothers." Yi Zichen shrugged. "I know." Tianhai nodded with a smile. "Nothing needed to be said." "Oh yeah, why did you go through so much trouble to modify this child star? Isn't that a waste of resources?" During the few months of truce, Yi Zichen had allowed the warriors to recover from their injuries, then had been modifying the child star. In just 3 short months. At this moment, this child star could not even be compared to the main star of some galaxies. It had once been filled with chlorine gas. Now it was filled with enough oxygen for humans to survive. It was completely suitable for humans to live in. "No matter what, this is still our base," Tianhai said with a sigh. "Be more dignified," Yi Zichen shrugged. Yi Zichen shrugged. "Even if we manage to snatch the sacred region's cosmic nation back, this child star is still very important to us. From now on, let's name it Nirvana Star. Nirvana Rebirth, and treat it as a special life star." "Nirvana Rebirth," Tianhai murmured to himself, then nodded. "That does sound a bit like an undying phoenix." "That's right, Nirvana Rebirth," Yi Zichen nodded with a smile. "If we really take back the Sacred Universe country, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call it Nirvana Rebirth." "Not at all." "Then, Nirvana Star, it's settled." Chapter 2776. Nirvana Star. Yi Zichen had given this star such a name in hopes that the Holy Region's cosmic nation would be able to rise from the ashes of nirvanic rebirth. Before, he didn't dare to say it. At that time, even if he was confident, he still felt that the chances were quite slim. The strength of the sacred region universe country at that time against the invaders. They were not on the same level at all. Fortunately, the goddess of luck was always on his side after countless gambles, tilting the scales of victory towards the sacred universe country. Furthermore, the reason why he was so confident was actually because of the world domination ruler's decision. Regardless of whether the world domination heavenly king had woken up to reality or not, even if he had turned from black to white, to him there was a rather bad piece of news, and that was, he no longer had any chance. It was already the 4th month of the truce. The world domination ruler obeyed his words and said that he would attack the sacred region half a year later. During this period of time, his people did not come to harass the sacred region. They needed to rest. However, the profits of the sacred region universe countries were even greater. In the previous war, the sacred universe country had earned a total of 300,000 chaos and above. This income was all obtained from the bodies of the soldiers who had died in battle. Perhaps it wasn't very humane to take money from a dead person. There was no other way. The sacred region universe country needed these resources to replenish their supply. Of those warriors who died in battle, the weakest were at the pinnacle of the universe, and the strongest were even king-level experts. The Universe Union Bank's funds were unable to increase. However, the equipment and support equipment on them raised the overall strength of the sacred universe country by at least 50%. How could there be such a huge improvement? The main reason was because the sacred universe country was a defeated country, and their equipment at that time was already very broken. In the second universe, Yi Zichen doesn't have a master blacksmith like Meng Tai. The smithy was now the Upheaval Alliance's Equipment Research and Development Department. Even the most skilled blacksmiths could only forge marquee-grade equipment. Moreover, it would take several years. The ones that could truly be mass-produced were still mainly around the universe level. This level of equipment, it would still be fine for a universe level, but even for an admiral these would be too much to handle. Another way was to hunt vicious beasts. 3 years ago, the Upheaval Alliance established a division for hunting vicious beasts and a division for clearing dungeons. These departments provided the Upheaval Alliance with divine equipment. There were also various consumables, as well as some precious materials that were difficult to obtain in the first universe. Unfortunately, although they could obtain some high-level equipment through this method, it was impossible to provide them in large quantities. Right now, the Upheaval Alliance's main mission was to expand their territory. They couldn't afford to invest too many people in acquiring equipment. Yi Zichen could understand and accept that. The Upheaval Alliance had only been around for a dozen or so years. How could it be compared to the first universe? Everything needed to be developed step by step. As for equipment replenishment, vicious beast hunting and dungeon raiding were the initial plans. There was a high chance that there would be better ways to obtain them in the future. As for the battle of the world domination ruler, instantly solving the desperate situation of the sacred region universe country. A total of 5 million people died in battle. Excluding the damaged equipment, it still gave the sacred universe country over 4 million people a new set of equipment. Not only that, replenish 20,000 annihilation cannons. Replenish 80,000 energy cannons. Combat spaceships, interstellar battleships, and manned spaceships had also been replenished. These preparations were actually irreversible. Take it out. I can't bring it back. This will have a huge impact on the second universe's Upheaval Alliance, but Yi Zichen was willing to accept it. Furthermore, he was prepared. Once the war was over, he'd hand it over to the Holy Domain Universe country. They'd just re-established their nation, so they needed it. As for Tianhai, He was prepared to merge the Holy Domain Universe country into the Milky Way galaxy and become its subordinate universe country. He'd also hand over all of its income and resources to the Milky Way galaxy. In short, the two brothers were both thinking for each other's sake. Tianhai watched as Yi Zichen made his decision. Tianhai had no objections. He simply smiled and nodded. "You're the leader, so whatever you say goes. Even if you name this planet Planet Yi, or the Holy Domain Universe country Milky Way, I have no objections." Haha, when you put it like that, it makes me feel like you're working for me. I'm actually quite embarrassed and nervous. I'm only at the general level. Yi Zichen grinned and scratched his head. "You still know you're a general?" Tianhai was trying to say. "What you're doing now isn't something a general should do." Ignoring everything else, just how many people in the entire universe would dare to provoke him by pointing at a monarch-level expert? Of course, Tianhai had no intention of warning him. Yi Zichen was a lord of the Milky Way. His status wasn't something that other generals could compare to. Think about it. How many warlords could interact with sovereigns, overlords, and supremes every day? Even Meng Luo and the others couldn't do that, right? Supremes. There were only a few in the entire universe. Two stood behind Yi Zichen, and there was still a peak supreme expert whose life or death was unknown. Before they received confirmation of Milky Way's death, everyone believed that he was still alive. At least I know my place," Yi Zichen smiled. Yi Zichen smiled. "You have to know what you're worth. You can't be too domineering." "You brat." Tianhai couldn't help but shake his head. "Seriously? You've already bullied him to such an extent, yet you still don't forget to drag him out and whip his corpse." "Oh yeah, what did you say to me just now?" "See, you really didn't listen," Yi Zichen shrugged. Yi Zichen shrugged. "Didn't you say that you had nothing better to do recently?" "Yeah." Tianhai had already recovered. If it wasn't for Yi Zichen, he would have dragged his old buddies to attack the invaders' base. Back then, the four sovereigns had schemed against him. He'd always remembered this grudge. What's more, Jingling was on the Sacred Region's main planet. He had to rescue her. However, Yi Zichen had the final say. He agreed to let him make all the decisions, so he wouldn't do anything that would break the rules. "You're here." Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. "What do you want me to do?" Before Tianhai had even finished speaking, Meng Luo hurried in from outside. "Great deity, the ship's energy has been recharged. You've checked the ship as well?" "It's all checked. We're just waiting for the captain's orders." The flame rat also ran over and saluted Yi Zichen. "All right, let's go." Yi Zichen waved his hand and raised his eyebrows. "Where are we going?" "Adventure." Meng Luo's eyes were filled with excitement. Hearing that, Tianhai's frown deepened. "Yi. That's adventure." Yi Zichen smiled and patted Tianhai's shoulder. "We've earned enough points these few months, right? Shouldn't we go check out those camps?" Chapter 2777. The Training Camp. Although the world domination country's ruler seemed to have disappeared, the Sacred Region Cosmic Nations war hadn't stopped. Every day a large number of warriors, spaceships, and warships would arrive outside of Nirvana. These spaceships and warships were rather interesting. Their purpose wasn't to carry people. Self-destruct. It was a bit like the self-destructing armored trucks on Earth. They could self-destruct to deal damage to the enemy. At the very beginning, before they knew what was going on, quite a few of the Sacred Region's soldiers were injured. Fortunately, Su Yan, the life healer, was there to effectively reduce the number of casualties. Don't underestimate the self-destruction of cosmic spaceships and warship. There were enough of them. Sometimes, even universe levels would get injured. What's more, the self-destruction of a warship's internal energy source had a rather wide range. Of course, that was only in the early stages. Later on, the soldiers all knew to set up energy barriers around them. That way, the self-destruction wouldn't have any effect. "Look at the camp?" Tianhai was stunned. Didn't you say last time that we don't need the camp, and that the crystals and the 2 warships are enough? Yi Zichen had said that 2 months ago. Tianhai remembered it very clearly. That's what I said, but look at her. Yi Zichen pointed at Meng Luo, his eyes filled with helplessness. This girl wants to go on an adventure. Meng Luo smiled innocently. His eyes narrowed into slits as he laughed. She really did say that. She didn't deny it. Her time on Nirvana had been rather interesting. This planet was different from the planet she lived on. Although it was filled with chlorine, it didn't affect her life too much by converting it into cosmic energy. However, Yi Zichen had modified the planet. From the first day of the transformation, she began to lose interest in this star. The volcano she and the flame rat had explored had also been developed. There was no place for them to play. What's more, staying on the same planet for so long was rather boring. Tianhai looked at Meng Luo's smile when she heard Yi Zichen's reply. Tianhai was speechless for half a minute. This lady. Does she really think this trial is an adventure game? As expected of the heir of a large family, she doesn't even have the proper sense of danger. Yet, Yi Zichen actually agreed. This puzzled Tianhai greatly. From Tianhai's perspective, Yi Zichen was someone who had experienced the hardships of his country, and was a rather rational person. Yezi, we're in a time of war, and Meng Luo and the others are highly respected. Let's not do anything rash. Moreover, what if the World Domination Kingdom suddenly launches an attack on us while we are away? It had already been 4 months, and there was no sign of the World Domination country's army attacking. According to the report from the intelligence personnel, the World Domination country's army had increased a lot of war equipment. This meant that the ruler of the World Domination Heavenly Country would make a comeback. Tianhai had a feeling. In the near future, the World Domination ruler would definitely bring his men to attack. So be it. Don't tell me you're still not aware of the current situation of our Nirvana star? Yi Zichen, on the other hand, was much more at ease in the face of such concerns. Nirvana had to be transformed. It was modified according to the specifications of a Rank 1 battle star. Level 1 battle planet. They were all galaxies, edge planets of universe countries, undergoing the highest level of modifications during major battles. The price of modifying a battle star was extremely high. There were 6 energy barriers around the celestial body, and their energy was replenished by cosmic energy stones. Battle stars had anti-detection and anti-combat capabilities. There were over 200 spatial base stations in the skies above the planet, each with interstellar energy cannons and annihilation cannons, ready to counterattack the moment the enemy invaded. The entire Nirvana star was a military operation area. The energy reserves of the annihilation cannons and energy cannons were full. Do you think the World Domination ruler can break through our Nirvana star? As long as they don't self-destruct, there really isn't much of a chance. No matter how worried Tianhai was, he had to admit that Nirvana star was as reborn as its name suggested. 300,000 primal chaos was not for nothing. After all, it was already extravagant to spend over 10,000 primal chaos on a relatively large life star. A mere child star cost over 300,000 primal chaos. One could only imagine the extent of the planet's modifications. Isn't that so? Yi Zichen shrugged. What if they don't send the World Domination King himself? What if their sovereigns come as well? Tianhai frowned. They have a total of 4 sovereigns. If they want to break through, the energy cannons and annihilation cannons won't do any real damage to them. They won't come. Yi Zichen shrugged. Why not? The World Domination King won't let them. Yi Zichen gestured towards the outside. I've been keeping an eye on the World Domination King for a month now. He's currently in a deep slumber. What's more, I had the technical department make me a small signal jammer. I placed it in outer space, and it's just big enough to cover the World Domination King's subordinate. Strangely, we haven't received any signal jammers recently. What do you mean? Tianhai raised his eyebrows. That means they haven't released any information on the virtual world, said Yi Zichen. I'm guessing it's the World Domination King's orders. Also, there's another important point. If the World Domination King wanted the sovereigns to come, they would have arrived a long time ago. That's true. It had indeed been 4 months since the World Domination King's defeat. If the sovereigns wanted to come, they would have arrived a long time ago. Also, didn't you notice? They've only replenished their equipment, but not their manpower. That's right. I'm guessing that the World Domination King wants to deal with it himself, Yi Zichen shrugged. Yi Zichen shrugged. Of course, that's just my guess. Don't worry, I left several dozen hidden sentries outside. The moment the World Domination country makes any moves, or the red side makes any moves, we'll be notified immediately. Then, we'll be able to return in time. There's one more important point. Yi Zichen patted Tianhai's shoulders. Yi Zichen patted Tianhai's shoulder in a cosmos manner. Actually, this is for you as well. Me? Tianhai frowned. The battleship will self-destruct. Yi Zichen pointed at the battleship base outside. Yi Zichen pointed at the battleship base outside. If we upgrade it to the king level, how wide do you think its self-destruction range will be? We want to reclaim our lost territory, not destroy this country. What's more, isn't Jingling still there? Aren't you afraid of her self-destruction? Chapter 2778. Tianhai remained silent in the command center. In truth, the setup of the ancestral Dragon Clan's base was beyond his understanding of the universe. There was no such thing as a domain or a star system to define a warship. It was more about the materials used to define a warship's grade. For example, if some warships were made from E-grade materials, they would be E-grade warship. E-grade warships indeed corresponded to warlord level. This meant that their defensive capabilities were around that of a warlord. As for their offensive capabilities, they had to consider the warship's internal combat equipment. Unfortunately, the ancestral Dragon Clan's base was set to self-destruct. Furthermore, it clearly indicated that it was a universe-level self-destruction. Wasn't self-destruction just a self-destruction of energy? Why did it have to do with the universe's level? Tianhai didn't understand. However, he knew very well that the ancestral Dragon Clan was capable of this. As for why he was so certain, even he didn't know. If the warships in the base were truly king-level, then when they reached the red base or self-destructed in the face of enemy forces, the resulting shockwaves would be terrifying. Self-destruction in space would be fine. But if they really did enter a planet, or at the edge of it, like the World Dominator country's ruler and the others did, then they would arrive within 5,000 kilometers of the planet. A king-level warship would self-destruct. It would definitely deal heavy damage to the planet the invaders were stationed on, and Jingling would be affected as well. When he was alone and helpless, Jingling had led her clansmen to save him. This debt of gratitude, he had to repay it. Furthermore, he didn't have many people by his side. He couldn't let Jingling fall into danger again. What do you think? Asked Tianhai. Let's go check out the base. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. Actually, we're just going to take a look. The investigation team I sent already replied. Based on their reply, we confirmed the coordinates of the nearest base. Let's go take a look and see how their defenses are doing. We're not taking it? Tianhai raised his eyebrows. We're not taking it. Yi Zichen shook his head, his eyes filled with confusion. Why are we taking it? It's only been a few months. The trial lasts for 1.5 years. If we take back a base, we'll have 1 less point to earn. That's also giving the enemy points. Why would I do something like that? What's more, should we defend it or not? If we want to protect them, we need to deal with Songyue's people on the surrounding life stars. If we get rid of them, we'll definitely alert them. It'll be troublesome if the Venerable One comes. If we don't defend it, Then there's no point in taking it back. They will definitely try to take it back. It will still alert the enemy. I just wanted to take a look. Furthermore, Mengluo has been making quite a fuss over the past few days. I just wanted to satisfy the wishes of the little princess, who has never left planet Een since she was young. Yi Zichen grinned and transmitted his reply. He couldn't say it out loud. Mengluo was waiting at the door. Although she looked like a little lowly, she was actually a commander-level commander. His universe realm was even higher than Yi Zichen's. Even if he lowered his voice, she could still hear him. If he let her know that he was just going to take a look, she would definitely start messing around again. Tianhai hesitated for a long time before he said, "Sure. That's right." Yi Zichen smiled, then signaled towards Mengluo. "Let's go." A manned spaceship. On the spaceship, the members of the trial team were all in position. There was also Amami, the venerable realm bodyguard who doubled as a hired thug. They did not ride on the warship. It was too high profile. During this time, spaceships constantly flew in and out of Nirvana. Although the World Domination Kingdom didn't seem to be keeping an eye on them, it was still safer this way. Furthermore, just to be on the safe side, "Yizi, your spaceship. It's an invisible spaceship." Yi Zichen grinned. "It's the work of the Upheaval Alliance's head of technology, Meng Tai. The current invisible spaceship is the 5th generation, and it has anti-detection capabilities. It can conceal itself over 90% of the universe. Even radar can't detect it." "Really?" As soon as Yi Zichen said that, Hua Jianrou rushed up to him in shock. "It's invisible to the entire universe and can ignore space?" "Not absolutely, but 90%. You can conceal yourself even after entering a life planet?" Meng Tai said yes. Yi Zichen thought back to Meng Tai's words and nodded. "I tested it in the 2nd universe. It really can remain invisible. The Hua family will buy 500,000 of them." Hua Jianrou didn't even hesitate. She raised 5 fingers. "Huh? 1,000,000 is fine too. I'll buy as many as you have." They could remain invisible even after entering a life planet. Radar couldn't detect them. What did that mean? In times of war, you could use invisible spaceships to silently enter enemy territory and deal them a fatal blow. Furthermore, given the current state of the universe, the flames of war would spread far and wide in the future. That was a weapon of war. Seriously, Meng Tai didn't do anything when he was with me and Bai Yu's family. How did you develop something like this? He's a monster, isn't he? Hua Jianrou couldn't help but retort as she talked about buying a spaceship. Why didn't he do it when he was with the Virtual World Corporation? He did, but it was rejected. Yi Zichen shrugged. Is that so? Hua Jianrou arched her eyebrows. If the Virtual World Corporation found out about this, they would definitely regret it. Perhaps it was a time of peace, so this sort of effect wasn't all that useful. Given the current situation, an invisible spaceship is a weapon that can turn the tide. That's right. Tianhai nodded. One could imagine. You were on guard outside, but the enemy attacked from within. What kind of scene would that be? You'd definitely be caught off guard. Yi, sell it to me. This thing is really expensive, Yi Zichen frowned. Yi Zichen frowned. It's not that I'm not selling it to you on purpose. It really is expensive. I'll buy it no matter how much it costs. Our Bai family wants some too, muttered Bai Yu. In the future, our family will be stationed outside. This spaceship will be of great use. I'll buy some too. The flame rat followed suit. Then I'll buy some too? Meng Luo blinked. Although I don't know what's so good about it, you're all buying it, so there's nothing wrong with me buying it. To tell the truth, Tianhai really wanted to buy it too. Unfortunately, he was short on funds. We'll see. Yi Zichen shrugged. It's not that I don't want to sell it to you, it's just that it's hard to make. The Upheaval Alliance's R&D department can produce 30 spaceships a day. We don't even have enough supply. What's more, all the resources we use are rare, and it's a new product. I'm not particularly familiar with the process. How about this? If you can provide the resources and equipment you need, I can have them made for you. Understand me. Resources are hard to come by. Chapter 2779. Too passionate. Yi Zichen did not think that Hua Jianrou and company would be so interested in the invisible ship. If they found out about this in the future. Invisible warship. Invisible battleship. Galaxy teleportation array. They would probably go crazy. Looks like I'll have to tell them about this later. They might not be able to accept it now. Yi Zichen muttered to himself. He thought to himself, let's talk about it later. The Upheaval Alliance was thriving in the second universe. Their situation was far better than in the first universe. They wouldn't dare say they were the #1 power in the universe. At the very least, no one dared to provoke the Upheaval Alliance. Since the Upheaval Alliance had Meng Tai, the former deputy head of the Virtual World Corporation's R&D department, Yi Zichen didn't place any restrictions on his research. As a result, the Upheaval Alliance's research and development capabilities rose steadily. Don't fuse them. All Yi Zichen could think of right now was to not fuse with the universe. If they fused, the various forces would swarm in, and it would bring about a great impact to his situation. Providing materials? Sure. Hua Jianrou nodded without hesitation. If you need any resources or materials, I can inform my family to send them to the Milky Way. I've sent a message to your virtual network. Immediately, everyone in the cabin entered the virtual network. About half a minute later, other than Meng Luo, Hua Jianrou, Bai Yu, the Flame Rat, and Tianhai all had strange looks in their eyes. A ship's resources. That's right, it's just one ship's worth of resources. I didn't tell you anything else. Yi Zichen nodded seriously. Looks like I'll have to give this matter further thought. Hua Jianrou grinned, recalling the information he had just seen in the virtual network. All of them were rare resources. Yi Zichen wasn't joking. These resources were truly troublesome to obtain. Don't worry if you really want to. Just send the resources to the Milky Way, and I'll have Yin Shang bring them to the Upheaval Alliance. Hearing Hua Jianrou's words, Yi Zichen shrugged. Is there a problem with these resources? Meng Luo, on the other hand, looked at them suspiciously for a while. If you don't want to do it, then do it for me. Great God, I've already informed my people. They'll be making preparations. Shall I reserve 100,000 ships first? Everyone in the cabin? What kind of nonsense was this girl talking about? 100,000 ships. Did she not see the resource requirements clearly? Meng Luo, are you serious? Yi Zichen exclaimed. These rare resources, even the Milky Way couldn't provide the materials for 100,000 invisible spaceships in a short period of time. With the current mining efficiency of the Milky Way galaxy, being able to supply about 1,000 ships a day was already considered quite a lot. Meng Luo's tone was as simple as breathing. I'm not messing around. Meng Luo blinked. I've already talked to the people in the clan, but they didn't say anything. They just told me that they would send it over as soon as possible. Meng Luo, does your family have a lot of resources? Hua Jianrou was surprised. I'm all right. Sell some to me. Not for sale. Meng Luo pursed her lips. Our family has never been in the business of selling resources. Don't be so stingy. This is not a matter of being petty. Meng Luo spread her hands innocently. The clan doesn't allow me to sell it, so what can I do? You are so stingy. Hua Jianrou hugged her own shoulders angrily. From time to time, she would sneak a glance at Meng Luo, as if she was observing her expression. Nothing changed. Meng Luo, no matter how much you yell at me, I can't sell resources. Meng Luo frowned. What should I do about the clan's rules? You can't be a sister anymore. Hua Jianrou snorted. Then I won't. Meng Luo's expression didn't contain the slightest hint of reluctance. She shook her head and ran to the front of the ship, then looked out at the illusory outer space. So many planet wreckage. Hua Jianro stood dumbfounded on the spot for a good half a minute. Plastic sisters, I understand now. Stop messing around, Bai Yu frowned. Bai Yu frowned and softly said, since Meng Luo said that, you can't force her against her will, right? I'm just saying. Hua Jianro pouted, then walked to the front of the ship. It seems like the battle here was quite intense. That's right. As the person in question, Tianhai nodded and walked over. Actually, this was the original battle zone. It's been almost 100 years since then. Many of the life planets here were destroyed. As you can see, there are quite a few black holes here, all formed from the explosion of stars. They fought for so long. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. Very long indeed. Tianhai didn't deny it. I didn't know it was Tsangyu at the time. If I had known, to be honest, I would have chosen to retreat with my clansmen. There's no point in retreating. What he wants is the elemental spirit. Tianhai was stunned for a moment, then nodded silently. Indeed. Does that mean that it was his elemental spirits that caused the destruction of the sacred cosmic nation? He didn't want to say that. This was like finding excuses for himself, and he disdained to do it. In the end, it's because I'm not strong enough. I was too confident. I thought that with my power as a sovereign, it would be no problem to guard this small cosmic nation. That's why I didn't modify the interior of the cosmic nation for war, nor did I store any war equipment. I spent most of my resources on nurturing talent. When the war came, it was already too late for me to modify it. Tianhai sighed helplessly. From the start of the war, many of the families that did the war business did not support him at all. What's more, he was too confident. He didn't pay much attention to the large number of experts stationed in the surrounding galaxies. At the start, he thought that it was just a small conflict. He didn't take it to heart. It's not your fault. A sovereign should have that sort of confidence, Yi Zichen comforted. Who would have thought that a supreme being would target you? Oh yeah, where did you get your elemental spirits? I got my elemental spirit when I was traveling outside. Ding dong. At this moment, a crisp notification sound suddenly rang out in the cabin. Everyone in the cabin was startled for a moment. What's that sound? Hua Jianro looked towards the cabin. You guys should have heard it as well. Ding dong, it came really suddenly. We heard it. Everyone nodded. Then, whispers sounded out in the cabin once again. Camp ownership has changed. Congratulations, Blue Team, for successfully obtaining a warship camp. All of a sudden, everyone in the cabin was shocked, and even started to doubt their ears. Camp ownership? How is this possible?